Chapter 1 Activating the System, Strange Tasks. Blue Star, Magic City, inside a simple and narrow rental house. Han Jichu stared blankly at the contract in his hand. Thinking back to the events of today, he felt like he was dreaming. In the morning, he was knocked out of the job interview, not because of his ability, but because the competitor was the boss's brother-in-law. Indignant, he was both helpless and depressed as he took the subway and returned to his rented cabin. Leaning on the subway seat, looking at the cell phone WeChat change purse and the few savings balance, the sad face of the next life he is worried about. Just at this moment, a short-haired, capable woman wearing a professional dress and gold-rimmed glasses suddenly sat down next to him. The capable elite woman pulled out a business card directly from her satchel and handed it to him, saying bluntly and without delay that her name was Lisa Young and that she was a well-known professional agent of Big Fish Film and Media Limited, which ranked among the top 5 companies in China. Because she saw Han's appearance and temperament are very outstanding, so she asked him if he has the will to become a star. Han Jichu, 85 tall, has a pair of straight and long legs, can be said to be the perfect body plus the heroic and handsome fairy face, is simply to beat a large part of the entertainment industry fresh meat. Even if he can't do anything, with his face value, it's more than enough to be a traffic idol, so it's no wonder he's been spotted by professional agents. Although Han Jichu was a young boy who has never been beaten up by society, Lisa Young's sudden and direct approach to him was taken as a scammer without any surprise. Lisa Young's several times painstaking effort to explain, and even searched out their own encyclopedic information on the phone to the Han pick up the beginning to see, he only reluctantly believed her. Half-heartedly followed her to the Big Fish Film and Media Company, sat in her office. Han Jichu Fong completely believed that she is the professional agent of the Big Fish. Although Han Jichu is smart, but in the end, it is only a fresh out of school, how can it be mixed in the entertainment industry, crawling through the 20 years of human elite opponent? Lisa roamed colorful to draw him a big cake, coupled with the temptation of 100,000 yuan signing fee, no effort to let Han pick up the beginning of the surrender. He signed his name on the contract and pressed his fingerprints. Han pick up the beginning of such a confused abduction into the Big Fish Film and Media Company, became Lisa Roan comeback, under the hands of the only one artist. Han put down the signing contract in his hand, and then took out his cell phone, opened the cell phone bank, looked at the balance displayed above. He was sure that he was not dreaming. A charming smile gradually appeared on his face. Who would have thought that the morninger still worrying about tomorrow's 3 meals a day, and at noon, his account is quietly lying on the 100,000. Life there are really surprises everywhere. Pick up the mirror on the table, looking at the mirror of their own, cannot help but lament, hey, never thought, hard-working and simple I have to fall to rely on face value to eat, make people Stinky put down the mirror, shook his head, things have come to this point, think more useless, or first fill up the stomach and then say. Well, today's lunch should eat 4 dishes. Han Jichu, who was about to pack up and go out to treat himself, suddenly heard a hard, mechanized voice. Congratulations to the host for formally embarking on the path of an artist and successfully activating the Oddball Dare entertainment system. Han Jichu couldn't help but be slightly stunned, then vigilantly scanned the rental room, his whole body on guard, and shouted in a stern tone, Who? Who is talking? Hurry up and get out, don't play God. Shouting, while carefully searching up in the house. Can not blind hook 8 busy work? The system is in your head. Han pick up the beginning of a face of horror, exclaimed, What? You said you're in my head? Calm down. The host does not need to shout, you only need to think in your heart, the system will naturally know. Han cannot help but secretly think, really? Is it that amazing? Is it amazing? This is not all routine operation? Crap, really fucking cannot. Hearing the raw mechanical sound ringing in his head, Han Pickup Chu blurted out in surprise. What the hell are you? Why are you in my head? This system is a high-end intelligent technological product developed and manufactured from a planet named Earth in outer space 1,000 years from now, named the Oddball Dare Civic Entertainment System, which, after a flurry of introductions, Han Jichu was able to get a general understanding. Before he had time to think more, he heard another voice from the system in his head. To celebrate the host's activation of this system, we are releasing the initial mission Triple Strike. The first strike, please host within 10 minutes, to the street outside, holding the old Chinese medicine small lads plastered poles, full of tears, full of deep feelings, shouting, God, my disease is finally saved. Chapter 2, Sand Sculpture System, Godly Rewards. Han pick up the beginning of pulling open the shorts to look at their own baby. Although the capital is strong, but if it is 5 centimeters shorter, then in the future can still bring happiness to his girlfriend and daughter-in-law? There is no way, in order to live a harmonious life in the future, in order to be a Viagra husband, he had to take the task with a hard head. Because the cheap house he rented was in a remote urban village, this kind of poles plastered with small advertisements of old Chinese doctors were still everywhere. And now it's lunchtime, there are quite a few pedestrians coming and going on the street. Han Jichu looked left and right, trying to find a pole that didn't have many people nearby. However, the system's urging tone sounded. There are 2 minutes left until the end of the mission, so please hurry up. Once the mission time's out, this system will default to mission failure. Han Chi-chu, who had already developed a psychological shadow over the sand sculpture system's punishment, didn't dare to delay any longer. Rushed to the opposite side of the street in front of a pole, hands clasped, looking at the small advertisement specializing in the treatment of dirty diseases, full of deep emotion, tone of excitement excitedly shouted up to the sky, "God, my disease, finally saved." His behavior coupled with this voice immediately attracted the attention of all pedestrians on the street. There are pointing at him, there are casted different gaze, there are whispering, and even did not hold back the proof laugh out loud. Crap, this dude is really fucking fierce. TSK, young man, how to get this kind of dirty disease? He looks like a nice guy. Isn't it nice to be with someone? You have to eat chicken, you deserve it. The chicken, eat chicken, just eat chicken, what hero, and dare not wear a helmet, too young, or too young. Han Jichu was instantly bashful with a red face, hating to find a crack in the ground. Luckily, the successful mission beep sounded in his head, he hurriedly lowered his head and quickly escaped from the scene that made him embarrassed to death. Panting, he ran back to the rental house, and only after closing the doors and windows tightly did Han Picchu finally let out a sigh of relief. Congratulations to the host for completing the first strike of the initial mission, rewarded with 1 random draw. As soon as the system beep ended, a virtual screen lit up in Han Chichu's mind. The center of the screen displayed a huge carousel, which was densely packed with countless awards. There were God-level singing skills, God-level acting skills, God-level painting skills, God-level piano playing skills, God-level swana playing skills, and God-level arrow playing skills. Han Jichu stared blankly at the awards listed on the dial and couldn't help but swallow. Good lord, there must be at least 1,000 of them, right? And all of them are in the divine skill category. Han Jichu immediately felt so damn good. Compared to these awards, what was the embarrassing mission before? Even if he only obtained one of them, he would be able to eat and drink for the rest of his life, right? Han picked up the initial thought, said, "System, you will not have shady, right?" Host, don't worry, this system is absolutely fair and impartial. Excitedly rubbing his hands, he said impatiently, "Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and start the lottery. If the host wants to start, the carousel will rotate. If the host wants to stop, the carousel will stop abruptly. Start." The huge carousel spins rapidly. Stop. At his command, the carousel instantly came to a sudden stop. Fixing his eyes on the area where the pointer was pointing, the award was precisely the divine level drawing skill. Congratulations to the host for winning the divine level drawing skill. Immediately afterward, Han Jichu's mind instantly lit up with a brilliant golden light. When the golden light dissipated, Han Jichu only felt that there were many more painting-related knowledge, skills and experiences in his brain. Han Jichu was amazed and astonished, and was afraid that the enlightenment was not as miraculous as this, right? However, before he could marvel and get excited, the system's mission announcement beep sounded in his head. Initial task triple hit, second hit, please ask the host to confess to a newly divorced woman in front of the Civil Affairs Bureau before 5 o'clock this afternoon. Mission success, reward 1 lucky draw opportunity and open the system mall. Failure of the task, this system will excise the root of the host's troubles. Han Jichu was horrified. Nima, is that so? This sand sculpture system is also too damn ruthless. Very annoyed, Han pick up early, extremely dissatisfied, cursed, crap, you, the sand sculpture system is really dog-ah, you fucking not want to play with me to death, right? If you release a mission to eat shit, then do I have to go eat shit too? Please note to the host that this system is a strange and daring civic system, not an impractical system. However, if the host has a strong request in this regard, then the understanding system can also issue a relevant task. Moreover, the rewards after the completion of the task will be beyond imagination. Richio, hosts want to try it. Chapter 3, Object of Confession, Cold President. When I arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau, it was exactly 2 o'clock. I don't know if it's because it's a Thursday or something else, but today's Civil Affairs Bureau seems extraordinarily cold. In the middle of the process, I also met a few pairs, but they all came to pull the marriage license. There is no divorce. Seeing that the time for the Civil Affairs Bureau to get off work was getting closer and closer, Han Jichu had a bitter look on his face. There wasn't much time left for him. As time passes by, the heart has been mentioned in the throat of Han Jichu, cannot help but secretly pray up, will not? God, please hurry up and send the divorcee, or my second brother will be in danger. After experiencing the previous warning lesson, Han Jichu is now not the least bit skeptical that the sand sculpture system will not chop off the root of his worries after failing the mission. I don't know if the heavens heard his prayers or if it was just a chance coincidence. Only to see a super luxurious executive edition sedan parked at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. The backseat door was pushed open, and from it came down a middle-aged man whose appearance was unimpressive and looked very naive and honest. And the rear driver's door opened, and a tall, dignified, and noble sexy woman walked out. Light chestnut-colored waves of long hair lazily scattered in the back of the head, delicate to the incomparable features, a well-cut high-end professional dress will be enchanting sexy posture, show the most, a pair of long legs wearing black stockings, is mysterious to let people think about. Like a beautiful woman walking out of a painting. Looking at the woman walking towards him, Han Jichu was dumbstruck with surprise. Part of it was the shock of the woman's stunningly beautiful face, but more than that, he had seen this woman before. Moreover, he had just met her this morning, at the Big Fish Film and Media Company. Coincidentally, this woman was the president of Big Fish Film and Media, Yu Chu-kan. Of course, this is also what Lisa Young told him when she saw her from afar at Big Fish this morning. Yu Chu-kan was carrying a limited edition luxury satchel in her hand and walked straight into the Civil Affairs Bureau with a face as cold as frost. While the middle-aged man dawdled, reluctantly following behind. No need to think, this is definitely a divorce. Han Jichu hurriedly got up, patted his butt, and walked to the door with his eyes crossed. This was probably his only chance today, so he didn't have a choice at all. Even if the target was his boss, he had to be tough and reckless for the sake of his second brother. Even if he was fired afterward, there is no way, after all, compared to the two, or the second brother is particularly important. From the time specified by the system is getting closer and closer, anxious Han pick up the beginning of the door kept pacing back and forth, but also from time to time probed to look in. Finally, Yu Chu-kan took the lead and walked out. Han Jichu also do not care about many, directly walked to her in front, blocking her way. Time is short, there is still more than a minute to 5 o'clock, Han Jichu did not have time to brew, also did not have time to think about how to word it. Without any padding, directly opened his mouth and said, "Mr. Yu, I like you, can you be my girlfriend?" It's dry, it's sharp, it's direct. Anyway, the success or failure of anything is not important, as long as the confession on the line. Temperament cold and detached Yu Chu-kan stunned in place, and then a look as if looking at the deep well ice-like expression, measured Han pick up the beginning. And then willow leaf eyebrow imperceptible slightly raised, do not know what to think. Han Jichu's face turned red and he lowered his head in embarrassment. He was waiting for the system's beep. However, what he never expected was that instead of waiting for the system's hard and cold voice, he waited for Yu Chu Cicada's astonishing response. Good. HM? Han Jichu slightly raised his head and looked at her in confusion, thinking he was hallucinating. Yu Chu-chan said again, I said, good ah. At once, Han Jichu's face was full of shock and disbelief. As if struck by lightning, he froze in place half demented and half dumbfounded. Congratulations to the host for completing the second strike mission, rewarding one lottery opportunity and opening the system mall. Finally hearing the system's beep, Han Jichu let out a long breath. Then he hurriedly explained, sorry Mr. Yu, I. However, before he could finish his sentence, he was directly interrupted by Yu Chu-chan. Follow me. What? Before he could return to his senses, Yu Chu-kan dragged him towards the luxury executive edition sedan parked at the door. Mr. Yu, you wait, you listen to my explanation. No Mr. Yu, can you let go of me first? Don't tug, I can explain. Han Jichu struggled while eagerly trying to explain. Chapter 4 doesn't want to get married, wants to be a hooligan. A face of horror peeped at Yu Chu-chan who was concentrating on driving. He did not have the morbid idea of dying under the peony flower in being a ghost. He has his own system, there are all kinds of divine rewards, Why worry about not eating abalone? If Yuchu-chan knew about the abundant inner drama he was directing and acting out, I'm afraid he wouldn't hesitate to kick him out of the car, right? Hanjichu was very apprehensive and torn inwardly. If it's really what he thinks, then when the time comes, will he vow to die and refuse to obey, or will he enjoy it with tears in his eyes? Looking at Yuchuken again, he didn't think that under such a cool and noble appearance, there would be a wild and unruly heart hidden underneath. Finally, in the midst of his incessant speculations, Yuchuken parks the car on the side of a secluded road. Turn off the engine and press the handbrake. Through the car window, Hanjichu scanned the remote and silent surroundings and couldn't help but direct his inner drama again. No. No way, why did you suddenly stop the car? And in such a remote place? It's broad daylight, and on the main road, even if she's wild and spirited, she wouldn't dare to do anything to herself, right? Yuchuken slightly sideways twisted his head to look at him, from head to toe from bottom to top repeatedly measured him a few times, and finally nodded as if very satisfied. Feeling her meticulously scanning gaze, why did it feel like she was admiring her prey? Hanjichu subconsciously moved to the side, sticking close to the car door, trying hard to distance himself from her, staring at her with a wary face. Yuchuken finally opened her mouth and asked coldly, "You just called me Mr. Yu, so you must be an employee of my company, right?" Hanjichu nodded and said, "I'm a newcomer who was only signed into the company by Sister Rome this morning." Briefly introduce myself, my name is Yuchu-chan, 26 years old, the president of Big Fish Film and Media, has a house, a car and a deposit, and there is a 3-year-old daughter, but it's not biological. Usually, in addition to managing the company, bring children, there is not much other hobbies. Of course, I don't have any bad hobbies. Hanjichu was at a loss, not knowing exactly what she was trying to convey. Oh. After a painless response, Hanjichu frowned, secretly wondering in his heart, why is it a bit like a blind date routine? Yuchu-chan stared at him with a pair of large Kazran eyes, staring straight at him, saying, "Don't you introduce yourself?" Although confused, Hanjichu still truthfully introduced, "My name is Hanjichu, 23 years old, just graduated from university this year." Upon hearing this, Yuchuken slightly hung her head, her eyebrows slightly knitted, and softly muttered, "Somewhat small." Although the voice is very small, but in the small and quiet car can still be heard. I don't know if it's intentional or unintentional, but her gaze after hanging her head fell on the lower half of Hanjichu's body. Small? Immediately, Hanjichu was not happy. Holding his head high, he aggressively retorted, "I'm nicknamed Viagra, okay?" Obviously, he and Yuchuken are not on the same channel at all. I don't know whether Yuchuken actually heard his words of deep meaning, but inexplicably said, "It will be, now is not quite popular little puppy." Hanjichu was annoyed and looked at her angrily. Are you polite? Do you know how to nag? Who the hell is a little puppy? I'm a big wolf dog, okay? Ah shucks, you're the dog, your whole family is a dog. Yuchuken ignored his silent annoyance and said without a care in the world, "Since you confessed your love to me and I accepted it, we should be a couple now, a romantic relationship, right?" Not. Han picked up the beginning of the first stunned, then even explained, you listen to my explanation, things are not what you think, However, Yuchu-chan simply did not want to listen to his sophistry, regardless of interrupting him again. You see how often we pulled a marriage license? As soon as these words left his mouth, Hanjichu was filled with astonishment and looked at her with a dumbfounded look. I am not. So stunned that he couldn't even speak clearly, he stuttered and stumbled for half a day and didn't say anything. Yuchuken's delicate face became even colder, as if a thick layer of frost had formed, making people shudder. The big eyes filled with fierce light also stared at him with anger, and asked in an extremely unkind tone, "What do you mean? You do not want to get married, want to play hooligan?" Not. Han picked up the beginning, shook his head repeatedly, eagerly said, "You do not talk nonsense, how can I play a hooligan?" Yuchuken said righteously, all not to marry for the purpose of love, are defined as hooliganism. However, we are not in love, right? You confessed, I agreed, we are not a couple, what is it? Han picked up the beginning of his neck to defend, but I lost the dare, so I confess to you. Chapter 5 Marriage Agreement, Dog Blood Drama. Hanjichu shook his head, and in his heart, he said, it doesn't look like he has a problem with his brain, and he's not crazy. But why is he doing crazy things? He was puzzled why Yuchuken seemed so eager and anxious to register her marriage with himself. Could it be that she really Craves her body? Don't be ridiculous, although he did look like a man, but that's not a reason at all, right? Could it be that this is a special fetish belonging only to the rich? Marriage and divorce for fun? What's the point? Who the hell can be so capricious? Obviously, it is also impossible. Is there some special reason? What's so hard to tell? Thinking of this, Han Zichu nodded his head in deep thought. It seemed like this was the only possibility. Regardless, he didn't bother pondering any further. This doubt he had to ask to understand, otherwise his heart wasn't steady. However, before he could open his mouth to ask, Yu Chukan seemed to have read his mind and took the initiative to take out a document from the satchel beside him and handed it to him. Han Jichu was both puzzled and curious as he took the document and flipped through it. It wasn't much, just a few pages, and it didn't take long to roughly read it. Han Jichu looked at her with surprise and asked, "Marriage by agreement? A fake marriage?" Yu Chuchan nodded and didn't say anything. "Then you and that honest and naive man just now, you also agreed to a fake marriage? But why do you want to divorce again?" "Heh." Yu Chukan revealed an extremely disdainful and contemptuous look and snorted. "Yesterday morning I finished signing the agreement contract with him and registering the marriage, and in the evening I deliberately invited him to dinner, ready to test a little. After all, the heart of the defense is not to be ignored. However, when I pretended to go to the restroom, he dared to sneak around and drug my water. Do you think such an honest and naive? Sure enough, you can't judge a person by their appearance." Han Jichu shook his head, but he still had a bit of understanding for this dude. After all, Yu Chuchan used her stunning face and alluring, sexy body to test a man's soft underbelly. Isn't this purely a foul? But any normal man, I'm afraid he can't afford such a test, right? Just this buddy's tactics are very disgraceful and underhanded, as the same species of Han pick up the beginning is very contemptuous. So you couldn't wait to end the contract agreement with him today, Mr. Yu? Then what else? It's a good thing I was careful and tried to find out, or else I would have brought such a dirty and unscrupulous scum back home. Wouldn't I have led the wolves into the house? Yu Chukan was furious, but at the same time, she was also very fortunate. Han picks up the beginning of a slight smile, raised his eyebrows, curiously asked, "Oh? Could it be that Mr. Yu isn't afraid that I'm also a wolf?" Yu Chuchan blurted out without thinking, "Afraid?" Well, on her this dry, unhesitating vigor, Han Jichu only felt that he had received 1,000,000 points of bludgeoning damage. Han Jichu also annoyed at his own mouth cheap, simply superfluous to ask, why have to find yourself unhappy? Bastard. However, you are just a young boy out of school. In the absence of the darkness of society and the complexity of the human heart, I think that there are not so many ghost tricks and bad intentions. Although it is the words of approval, but Han pick up the beginning of the sound, how to feel so uncomfortable it. Yu Chuchuan continued, "And you look clean. I'm not just talking about your appearance, but also your eyes. It's said that the eyes are the window to the soul, and through the eyes you can go straight to the heart of a person. And your eyes, very pure and clear. Unlike other men, including that seemingly honest and simple man just now, the eyes they look at me with are more or less mixed with greed and... Perhaps you don't believe me, but women are really especially sensitive to the eyes of the opposite sex. If not, I wouldn't have deliberately tried to test him. As for the result, it's obvious." Her words, sounding quite comforting to Han Jichu. "The key thing is that I'm on a tight schedule. I have to get married before noon tomorrow, so I simply don't have any extra time to do the screening and selection." Han Jichu helplessly smiled bitterly and propped up his forehead. "In that case, it's my own mistake to bump into you by mistake, isn't it?" Hearing this, Yu Chuchan's delicate features revealed a faint smile. The smile of the city, instantly melting away the cold frost on her face, like a bloodless knife, hitting the softest part of Han Jichu's heart. This unintentional smile, like the spring breeze over Lugu Lake, autumn rain soaked Ju's Hagu. At this moment, Yu Chukan is better than Zhao Jun, like Shizi again. Even the toughest steel, in her spring breeze under a smile, will also be transformed into soft fingers. It. Stunning, stunning. Let Han pick up the beginning of Intoxicated. Chapter 6. Taking advantage of the opportunity to mooch, absconding with the money. Yu Chusha, a pair of moving big eyes, full of expectations and prayers staring straight at him, softly asked, "You, can you help me?" Then she swore to guarantee, "You rest assured, we agreed to fake marriage, I will strictly abide by the agreement treaty, will not interfere in your private life. Moreover, the $5 million stated in the remuneration will also be paid to you in no less than 1 cent. If you don't feel confident, I can pay you half of the honorarium first. 2 years. Is the limit. Once the time limit is up, we'll go through the divorce procedure right away. What do you think? Not for any other reason, just for the sake of breaking the task issued by the sand sculpture system, Han Jichu couldn't possibly refuse. If you really want him to be paralyzed for 3 years, I'm afraid you'll want to die. In his heart, Han Jichu nodded his head, put on a difficult face, and said helplessly, in that case, I'll reluctantly agree to you. Ainima, typical get cheap and still sell good, bitch. Yu Chutsan's exquisite eyes flashed a flash of light, couldn't wait to take out a signing pen and hand it to him, urging, that's good, sign the agreement contract. Han Shichu, who had already been driven to the brink by the sand sculpture system, didn't have much to hesitate about, taking the pen and signing his big name. Then frowned slightly, raised his head and looked around, and finally his eyes fell on Yu Chutsan's bright red lips, and immediately showed a happy face. Han picked up the beginning of this big tiger pussy, even stretched out his thumb, in order to swiftly steal the bell-ringing trend, in her bright red lips wiped a hand. Only after his thumb wiped her lips did Yu Chuken react. Her face was instantly covered with a thick layer of cold ice, her eyes were fierce as if she wanted to eat people, and she looked at him fiercely and angrily, reprimanding in a chilling tone, Han Shichu, what are you doing? Han Jichu will be stained with her bright lipstick thumbs pressed heavily on the agreement contract, and then stretched out his thumbs in front of her eyes shook, full of innocence said, nah, borrow a little bit of ceiling clay only, why quarrel barfire? Yu Chuken still said coldly in a bad tone, I have lipstick in my bag, why are you moving your hands? Do you want to take the opportunity to mooch? Nonsense. How did I know you would carry lipstick with you? Besides, isn't it convenient to save things? What's more, it's just to wipe your lips, what kind of mooching is that? His tone was very natural, as if he didn't realize his mistake. Yu Chuken also understood that this guy in front of him is a straight man, and he doesn't even know about the necessary makeup products for girls. It can't be a virgin who hasn't even been in love, right? It's really a waste of this pair of stinky skin. Yu Chuken glanced at him meaningfully, the corner of his mouth imperceptibly hooked up a smile that flickered. Put the signed agreement contract carefully into the satchel, and then start the sedan, coldly said, go. Han pick up the beginning of the doubt asked, go? Where to go ah? Wherever your family lives, point the way. Why are you going to my house? The more Han Jichu heard, the more confused, my small rental house cannot live in 2 people ah. Yu Chuchan gave him a stern look and said in a bad mood, to move you. What? Moving? Han pick up the beginning of the more puzzled, I do not seem to have said I want to move, right? What are you doing here? Didn't you just read the agreement contract? Doesn't it clearly state that Party B has to move into Party A's house? What, you want to back out? Just now, Han Jichu had only looked it over roughly, and he hadn't really noticed this clause. Ha, there is such a good thing? Han Jichu simply does not have any reason to refuse, not to mention, he is not allowed to refuse. The heart secretly calculates, his own these 2 years actually still want to work hard at? Obviously, this is the rhythm of being adopted. The package food and housing not to mention, there is a large sum of package fee. 2 years time, dry food net fall 5 million, the average amortization, nearly $7,000 a day. Damn, where to find such a good job ah? This kind of good thing, just thinking about it makes people excited. Of course, Han pick up the beginning with this pair of stinky skin, in the past also met a lot of want to adopt him. But they were all meatballs of 200 or 300 pounds, old women who looked like flowers even at the age of a few dozen, and even those who played with steel wire balls. Which can be compared to the one in front of him. Yu Chuken inadvertently glimpsed the smile raised at the corner of his mouth, frowned, and coldly warned, although I let you move into my house, but I warn you, don't hold any unrealistic ideas, understand? If you dare to have any dirty thoughts, don't blame me for being rude to you. Han Jichu raised an eyebrow, Yuhu, the tone is not small, you're not polite? How to be nonchalant? Wouldn't you want to smother me to death with facial cleanser? Chapter 7, Luxurious Villa, Cute Cubs. But it's only $5 million, even if it's really a meat bag, it won't do me any harm. What's more, it's just a fake marriage to fool my family, it's not like you have to go to the bottom of a mountain of fire, and it's only a 2-year time limit. You can easily earn a large sum of money, I simply do not believe that you are willing to give up the final payment. And with me in these 2 years' time, will certainly attend a variety of banquet occasions, that will certainly be able to make friends with all walks of life elite network, on the basis of this, but all a little bit of brains, do not know how many of the 5 million can be earned. I don't think you're as stupid. Person, naturally, you can't do such a stupid thing as picking up sesame seeds and losing watermelons. Her words sounded a bit hurtful, but they were the unvarnished truth. Even without the sand sculptor system's mandatory mission, Han Jichu believed that it would be hard for him to refuse such a beautiful thing, right? Yu Chuchan took out her cell phone and operated it for a while before saying, "All right." Then returned the bank card to him. "You have turned on SMS notification, right? I'm a real-time account. You see if you have received the transfer information?" Her words just landed on the ground. Han picked up the beginning of the cell phone rang a text message tone. Taking a look at the SMS notification sent by the bank, Han Jichu nodded with great satisfaction and said with a smile, "Thank you." Sure enough, life is full of surprises. This is only the past few hours. The account has quietly lying 2,600,000. Happiness always comes so suddenly, let a person be caught off guard. Yu Chuchan lightly said, "Do not have to be polite, fair trade, you deserve it." Han picked up the beginning of no answer, a smile. His things are really not much. In addition to a few sets of seasonal clothes, there is nothing else. As for some messy things, he is also lazy to clean up. After all, is not worth a few dollars. It is generous to leave the landlord or the next tenant it. How to say that now is also a millionaire, this trivial little capricious, or allowed. After handing over the key to the landlord, you can directly flash. The small broken rental house also has no deposit, but it is a great deal of trouble. When the car drove into the first-class mansion, early psychological preparation. Han picked up the beginning, or was severely shocked. You know Yu Chuchan rich. I know Yu Chuchan has money, but I didn't expect her to be so extravagant. Ipin Huafu is located in the center of the Magic City, and all the mansions here are large flat detached villas with swimming pools and back gardens. Han Jichu didn't know how many small goals it would take to buy a villa here, but it definitely wasn't something he, a poor bastard, could imagine. The sedan drove straight into the independent garage in the villa, and looking at the more than 10 luxury cars of various luxury brands in the garage, Han Jichu couldn't help but smack his lips secretly. Any one of the cars inside, ordinary people are afraid that it is difficult to reach even after a lifetime of struggle. For rich people like Yu Chuchan, these moving bolts can only lie in the garage and eat dust. There are even some cars that have never been driven since they were bought, brand new. Han picked up the beginning of carrying not heavy suitcase, followed Yu Chuchan into the villa. The villa has 3 floors, and in the front yard is an independent swimming pool, while in the back is a small garden that covers a wide area and is very rich in green facilities. Needless to say, this again refreshed Han Jichu's perception of rich people. Like a bumpkin, Han Jichu stared straight at the richly decorated living room that looked like a palace. His reaction is normal. This is a rural person, and just set foot in society, where has seen what the world. Come on, change your slippers first. Yu Chuchan took out a pair of brand new slippers from the shoe cabinet in the entrance hall and handed them to him, perhaps for fear of hurting his pride. Even his tone of voice was much softer. Then she also changed off the high heels on her feet. Han Jichu looked at the pair of men's slippers in his hand, and was again slightly stunned. Yu Chuchan, who noticed his difference, even took the initiative to explain, "This is what I had specially prepared before." In order to cope with the elders of the family, she is also considered to be painstaking. The mind is quite meticulous. Mama, is Mama back?" A little girl's soft and sticky cry suddenly came from the second floor. Immediately followed by the anxious voice of a woman, "Ouch, little dumplings, you run slowly, fall later." Changed slippers. Han picked up the beginning of curiosity, raised his eyes to look. Only to see a delicate like a doll, powder sculpture of a small person, hand holding a large golden hair, sat on the small short legs, holding the wall, carefully walking down the stairs. And right behind her was a woman of about 50 years of age, reaching around to protect her from falling. After walking down the stairs with great difficulty, as soon as she let go of the dog collar that was tightly gripped in her hand, she ran towards Yu Chuchan with her short legs, impatiently. Chapter 8, Angelic Elf, Pitiful. Speaking of which, a layer of water mist gradually covered the bright eyes of little Tang Yuan. All the children in the kindergarten had their poop and mama to send them to school and pick them up from school, but little Tang Yuan only had Grandma Wang and Mama. When you see other children being held by their poop and paw, little Tang Yuan is so envious and jealous. Every time Xiao Tang Yuan misses Popa, Xiao Tang Yuan can only crawl into bed and sleep, because only in his dreams can Xiao Tang Yuan see Popa. When little Tang Yuan finished speaking, the tears of grievance in his eyes could no longer be contained, and the bean-sized tears instantly came out of his eyes. Next to Yu Chuchan also secretly wiped the tears on her face, falling into deep self-blame. The little dumpling Yu Baitan is really especially understanding, although she's just a little person over 3 years old, she cries too little. Except in the matter of poop, she has never let Yu Chuken worry about it. And Yu Chuken has been busy with her career for most of these years, leaving little Tang Yuan really not much time, and her care and concern for her is really not enough. She completely did not expect that at the age of a small dumpling, she had such a deep heart, and was hiding so many things in her heart, and she had never heard of it from the small dumpling. She also finally realized that the little sourdough used to cry for daddy, and after being fooled by herself, why she would crawl into bed without saying a word and sleep obediently. It turned out that she just wanted to fall asleep quickly, hoping to see her father in her dreams. Looking at little Tang Yuan's aggrieved and pitiful appearance, thinking about what she said, Yu Chu Cicada couldn't wait to give herself 2 hard slaps. Is there such a thing as being a mom? Han Pick Up the Beginning hastily squatted down, gently and meticulously for the little Tang Yuan wiped the tears on his face. His heart has been completely melted by the little Tang Yuan to the. He tightly embraced the little round into his own arms, hating to rub her into his heart. Inadvertently glanced at Yu Chuken, who secretly wiped away her tears. Perhaps the little sourdough is also the important reason why she came up with this bad idea of fake marriage. Only after a long time did Han Shichu unwillingly let go of the little sourdough in his arms. Gently and painfully said, "Little boy, daddy also especially want you, and daddy will dream of little boy every night dream-o." The little dumplings looked at him with tears in his eyes, and asked softly, "Really? That little dumplings in the poop dream good behavior ah? Good." Han Pick Up the Beginning of the mouth without thinking, daddy dream of little round of soup especially good, and daddy now see little round of soup exactly the same. Little Tang Yuan immediately broke into a smile, nodded his little head and said, little Tang Yuan really very good, very cute, very beautiful, very understanding. Hey, this little guy, sudden boasting really not ambiguous ah. Han Pick Up the Beginning of the Curious Tease asked her, "Little boy, then your dream father and what is like?" Little Dumplings shook his head, and immediately said, "Little dumplings do not know, every time little dumplings want to see the face of the poop, then wake up." However, in the mind of the little dumplings, the poop is now like this, tall, strong, handsome, and the body also smells good. Han Shichu did not spray perfume. The reason why the little dumplings think he smells good is probably because of the smell of laundry detergent. After saying that, the small round of soup tightly embraced his neck, pitifully asked, "Papa, can you not leave the small round of soup again? Little Tang Yuan doesn't want to be without Papa anymore. Little Tang Yuan will always be very good and understanding." When he heard these words, Han Zichu's heart was again tightened fiercely, and he touched her little head, promising with conviction, "Daddy promises little Tang Yuan that he will never leave our little baby again." Really? Little Tang Yuan's flashing eyes instantly twinkled with bright little stars. Han Zichu secretly sighed in his heart, but on his face he smiled slightly and said gently, "Really? Papa, let's pull the hook." Little Tang Yuan stretched out her caterpillar-like tiny tail finger, looking at him with an expectant face. Of course, Han Jichu would not let her down, and also stretched out his tail finger and gently hooked her tail finger. While pulling the hook, the little soup dumpling is reciting, "Pull the hook and hang yourself, don't change for 100 years," with a solemn and sticky voice. Ready to take back the finger, but was stopped by the little dumplings, beeping little mouth, said, "Poop, has not yet stamped it." Han Zichu smiled again and stretched out his thumb, sealing it with her. After completing the engagement ceremony, an innocent smile blossomed on little Tang Yuan's face. It was as if after doing so, she no longer had to worry that Papa would renege on his breach of contract. Her young heart was comforted. What a little angel, a little elf, who had fallen to earth. Looking at the little dumpling that was bored in Han Shichu's arms, Yu Chuken actually felt a little bit of taste. "I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it, but I'm going to have to do it, so I'm going to have to do it." Chapter 9, The Brutal Truth, the first show of painting skills. After the back of the small dumplings disappeared in the line of sight, Yu Chu Cicada and instantly returned to an iceberg. Just now the strong maternal love and soft light was all of a sudden gone. "Good guy," Han Pick Up the Beginning to see his jaw dropping, have to admire her change of face speed. Yu Chuken introduced, "Wang Ma, this is Han Jichu, from now on, he will be the man of the house. Chichu, this is Wang Ma, has been in our family for more than 20 years, even I was brought up by Wang Ma." Han Jichu hurriedly got up and took the initiative to greet her. "Hello, Mrs. Wang." Wang Ma's face showed a kind smile, nodded her head and said, Good, a good boy." Yu Chutsong came up with the bad idea and naturally did not hide from Wang Ma, because even if you want to hide it is impossible to hide. And Wang Ma is also see-through not to tell the truth, but also intends to help her hide to fool the family. Then she hurriedly continued, Chu Cicada, pick up Chu, you guys sit down and rest for a while, I'll go and cook right now. After saying that, she hurriedly turned around and walked towards the kitchen. Yu Chukan pondered for a moment, then slowly said, little boy is called Yu Bai Tan, and is the daughter of my own brother. Not long after little Tang Yuan was born, my brother and sister-in-law were on their way to the office when they were involved in a serious car accident, and both were unfortunately killed in the accident. For the sake of little Tang Yuan's healthy, happy, and carefree growth, so our family decided to keep it a secret from her, and asked me to bring her to live in Magic City. Han Jichu nodded with approval and understanding. Anyway, they are all surnamed Yu, and they are all a real family anyway, so it doesn't really matter. My parents and grandparents also because of the little Tang Yuan, so forcefully urged me to get married early, to give the little Tang Yuan a complete family. Han pick up the beginning of the previous has guessed, after all, single-parent families are really very unfavorable to the growth of children. I've always lied to little Tang Yuan that her father is abroad. Han Jichu frowned and questioned, then how are you going to explain to little Tang Yuan 2 years later? By then, my departure will cause even more harm to little Tang Yuan. Yu Chuchuan was annoyed and shook his head, I don't know, take one step at a time. Little Tang Yuan has also recently started to keep clamoring to see his father. Every time he makes a special fuss and cries especially hard, I simply can't muddle through anymore. I can't help it, I can only think of this temporary way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. As for what will happen in 2 years, I really didn't think that far ahead. Han Zichu blankly glanced at her without any good reason, not really knowing what to say to this extremely irresponsible lying behavior of hers. It wasn't long before they saw little Tang Yuan return under the escort of Sugar Bean. She is also holding a piece of paper in her hand. And the moment Yu Chukan saw little Sourdough, she once again performed her masterful skill of changing her face in a second. Little Tang Yuan waved the paper in her hand and shouted gleefully as she ran, POA, POA. The little short legs ran as fast as they could to Han Jichu's front, handing him the paper in his hand as if he was offering a treasure, saying in a sticky voice, Baba, this is a gift from little Tang Yuan to you. Han Jichu took the drawing paper, and on it was a family of 3, with the father and mother holding the little baby in the middle. Although the drawing was very rough, Han Jichu knew that this was the scene that little Tang Yuan's heart was longing for. Moreover, the dad in the painting only had a bare white face and no facial features. Because little Tang Yuan didn't know what daddy looked like, she couldn't draw him. Han Jichu looked at the expectant little Tang Yuan, knowing that she was looking forward to her praise, and immediately smiled and said, little boy's drawing is great. Hearing Poop's praise, little Tang Yuan's face again showed a silly smile. Han picked up the first thought and said, little boy, daddy will teach you how to draw, okay? Yes. Little Tang Yuan agreed without a second thought. To her, it didn't matter what she did, as long as she could stay with her daddy, she was happy. Han Jichu stood up, holding the little dumpling's hand, go, little boy, take daddy to his room, daddy will teach you to draw. Looking at the back of a large and small too sweet and cozy, Yu Chuchuan's face actually showed a faint smile, cannot help but be a little stunned. Almost nearly an hour's time, do a good job of cooking. Wang Ma put the food on the table, looking at Yu Chukan sitting alone on the sofa, buried in the tablet computer brush, softly asked, Chukan, pick up the beginning and little good boy? You can start the meal. Yu Chukan heard, put down the tablet in his hand, moved some stiff neck, said, they are upstairs painting, I go to call them. After saying that, she got up and went upstairs. Push open the door of the little dumpling's room, saw Han pick up the beginning of sitting on the carpet, while the little dumplings are intimate snuggled in his arms. Holding a paintbrush and drawing paper in his hand, he was earnestly teaching little Tang Yuan to draw. Chapter 10 Sweet Interaction, Provocative Molestation. Yu Chukan glared fiercely at him and said in a bad mood, Mom doesn't want it. Seeing that little Tang Yuan still wanted to open his mouth to say something, Yu Chukan quickly changed the topic, Granny Wang has made dinner. Little Tang Yuan hurried to go downstairs to eat with Pupa. After saying this, she turned around and went downstairs, fearing that the little dumpling would say something else. Han. Pick up the beginning of a slight smile, picked up the small round, said, go good boy, downstairs to eat. At the table, after washing his hands, the little dumplings had to sit next to Han Jichu, not the usual sticky him. The little dumplings slightly clumsy with chopsticks to pick up the chicken legs in front of them, and then put directly into Han Jichu's bowl, both milk and glutinous said, Papa, eat meat. Han Jichu was really touched by her gesture. He put the chicken leg in the bowl back to her, and said with a gentle smile, little Tang Yuan eat. But the little dumplings are not happy, bulging mouth. Once again the chicken leg into his bowl, stubbornly said, "Papa eat." Well, these two father and daughter sweet push, see Yuchuken is jealousy. On the contrary, Wang Ma was looking at the father and daughter with an amused look and a big smile. There is no way, in the little sourdough stubbornly insisted, Han pick up the beginning also have to accept. And the little dumplings also stared at a pair of big eyes, staring straight at him, seems to be to see him eat a bite to rest assured. Han Jichu could only pick up the chicken leg and take a bite. Well, it's delicious, you're really good at this, Wang Ma. Wang Ma smiled, and then said, eat more if it's good. Thank you, Wang Ma. Little Tang Yuan curiously looked at Yuchukan and said in a little milky voice, Mama, why don't you give Papa a dish? Little Tang Yuan and Grandma Wang both gave food to Baba. Yuchukan, who was already jealous, heard her own baby girl's words, and then looked at Han Zichu's provocative eyes and derisive smile, and immediately became angry. With a cold face, she huffed and puffed and picked up a chopstick of green vegetables and stuffed it into his bowl, and also gave a warning cold snort. Han Shichu had a bad smile on his face, picking up a piece of braised pork and putting it into her bowl. Honey, eat more meat, look at how thin you've gotten. Yuchukan glared viciously at him, but in front of the little dumplings, she couldn't warn Han Shichu of anything, and could only say lightly, I don't eat fatty meat. Then she threw the braised meat into Han Shichu's bowl. However, Han Jichu's provocation and molestation didn't stop there. Instead, he once again pinched the meat back to her and said, Wife, you're such a big person, you can't be picky about what you eat, you have to be a good role model for little Tang Yuan. Immediately next to his little Tang Yuan also nodded straight, came a divine help, Mama, you have to be as good as the little Tang Yuan, cannot picky eaters. Well, in order to give his daughter a good example, Yuchuken could only force himself to eat the meat. If eyes can kill, it is estimated that Han Jichu has already been abused several times. A dinner, in addition to the angry Yuchukan, all the happy After dinner, the little dumplings did not pester Han Jichu, but lying in the living room on the expensive carpet, the little head pillowed in the soft and comfortable belly of the sugar beans, crossing the small short legs, beautifully watched the cartoon. Yuchuchan said in a bad mood, let's go, I'll take you to the room. Han picked up the beginning of a smile, carrying suitcases, and went up to the second floor with her. There are 6 rooms on the second floor. In addition to Yuchutsan's bedroom, there is also a little Tan Yuan's toy room, which is the room where she drew before, and the rest are all guest bedrooms. Because little Tang Yuan is still small, he is sleeping with Yuchukan, while Wang Ma lives on the first floor. Yuchukan pointed to a guest room opposite his bedroom and said coldly, you'll live in this one, the mattresses and covers inside are all new. Han Shichu shrugged his shoulders and said it didn't matter. Pushing open the bedroom door, sure enough, all the items and utensils inside are brand new. The bedroom is very spacious, and also has a separate bathroom, very good. Han Jichu opened his suitcase and organized his luggage. Yuchukan, who was leaning on the doorframe, said in a bad tone, I'm warning you, don't be too reckless in the future. Han Jichu knew what she was talking about, smiled slightly and said, Mr. Yu, may I ask if I don't call you my wife, then what do I call you? Is it possible to call you Mr. Yu at home in front of little Tang Yuan? Or just call you by your first name? How do you think little Tang Yuan will feel when she hears me address you like this? Yuchuchan frowned and said brashly, I don't care, anyway, no more calling me wife. Han Jichu raised an eyebrow and tentatively asked, then call you Cicada? Yuchukan, who only felt a vicious chill, couldn't help but shiver, and coldly refused, forbidden. Chapter 11, System Mall, Mom Calls. As soon as Han Jichu walked downstairs, the little dumpling lying on the carpet hurriedly climbed up and jumped into his arms. The dog that had been pillowed by her also breathed a long sigh of relief. It is not afraid of anyone in the family, but only afraid of this little human pup. Although the little dumpling was very understanding, but sometimes her temper was really quite grumpy, and as long as there was enough electricity, she had endless energy to vent. Other people do not want to hit sugar beans, but the little sourdough is really will start. Good thing she still know the weight, plus the small people do not have much strength, every time just gently pat sugar bean's head. Kindergarten creatures can't be messed with. Poop, accompany the little dumplings to watch cartoons, okay? Little Tang Yuan, who is tired of Han Picture's body, said in a milky voice. Okay, Papa will watch it with little boy. Little Yuan watched very seriously, and from time to time, a silly smile would appear on his face. Although Han Jichu was watching TV on the surface, he was actually communicating with the system. System, I still have one more chance at the lottery, right? Yes, host. I want to draw a lottery. Looking at the virtual screen that appeared in his mind, Han Jichu silently said, Start. Stop. Congratulations to the host for winning the divine singing skill. To be honest, but if it wasn't a thank you favor, no matter what skill was drawn, Han Picchu would be satisfied. Not to mention that it was a skill like divine singing that was both just as good as it was explosive. Satisfied, too satisfied, am I possessed by the Emperor? Han Picchu's face overflowed with a thick smile. System, isn't the system mall open? Where is it? The lottery screen on the virtual screen suddenly disappeared and the mall page appeared. The mall page showed many categories, including movies, TV dramas, music, commercials, comedy sketches, literature, and props. Han picks up the beginning of the movie category, and then popped up many fine subcategories. There are comedy, romance, action, thriller. Very fine and comprehensive. When you click on the comedy subcategory, countless comedy movies popped up, and underneath the movie posters were marked with varying popularity values. System note: the host needs to consume the popularity value to make purchases. For the movie and TV commercials and comedy sketches, the host can not only watch the original movie, but also get a free script after purchase. Music goods, after purchase, if there is a music video, the host can also watch, not only can listen to the original song, but also comes with the lyric sheet music. Han Jichu nodded, quite satisfied with the system's very humanized design. After looking through it for a bit, Han Jichu also had a slight understanding. Then he curiously clicked on the props category, and the commodities inside were dazzling and curious to Han Jichu. Charming fruits, golden throat tablets, Chinese wine, lucky stars, bad luck charms, golden spears do not fall loose, collapsed bed got oil. Good stuff, it's all good stuff. Han Jichu clenched his fists and secretly resolved to work hard to earn popularity value. Hey, I say you're such a big person, watching a cartoon with such a big smile, as for? Yu Chu-chan, who appeared next to him at some point, looked at his face full of unstoppable smiles and choked. Han Jichu turned his head to look, yo, only to see Yu Chu-kan has changed a set of long-sleeved and long-pants satin fabric pajamas, before the charming scenery has been blocked tightly. Han Jichu felt a strong sense of malice. What does it mean? This is to prevent who? As if I will peep like, cut. Said in a bad mood, you care about me, I can't be childish? Yu Chu-kan coldly smiled, disdainfully said, heh, childish. I don't care about her, said softly to the little dumplings, little boy, we don't look at it, okay? If you look at it again, your eyes will go out, and daddy will play with your toys. Good. Han picked up the beginning of holding the little dumplings and went upstairs to the toy room. Yu Chu-chan skimmed her lips, jealousy made her look completely different. At this time, Wang Ma came over and said with a smile, Chuchan, I have to go back home tomorrow. What's wrong, Wang Ma? Is there something wrong? Do you need my help? Yu Chu-kan worriedly asked after her. Wang Ma shook her head and said, why, my nephew in my hometown is getting married and he said he had to invite me back. Yu Chu-kan breathed a sigh of relief. A good thing, Wang Ma, have you booked a plane ticket? Not yet, I'm not thinking to give you a word first, Yu Chu-kan. Yu Chu-kan said, Wang Ma, I'll book you a ticket now, as she fumbled with her cell phone. It's rare for you to go back once, so this time you'll play in your hometown for a while longer. You don't need to worry about me, little Tang Yuan is in kindergarten, and I'm home on weekends, so you can just relax and play in your hometown as a vacation for yourself. Wang Ma smiled profoundly, okay, it's really been a long time since I've been back to take a look, so I'll stay longer this time. Chapter 12, Chatty Attributes, Sleeping Together. Little. Tang Yuan's little milky voice, Han pick up the beginning and the other end of the phone's mom are all stunned. Silence for a long time, Han mom asked incredulously, son, you married? You have a daughter? Her voice was trembling, so you can imagine how shocked she was. A bitter smile appeared on Han Jichu's face, and he could only say, well, I got married. Han's mom said furiously, why didn't you inform mom and dad about such a big thing as marriage? Han picked up the beginning of the cell phone away from the ear, covering the microphone, said softly to the little Tang Yuan, good boy, you first play alone for a while, dad after the call to come back to accompany you. Little Tang Yuan nodded. Immediately after Han picked up the beginning out of the toy room, back to their own bedroom, closed the door, explaining. However, he didn't tell his mom about the fake marriage, but simply explained about little Tang Yuan and told her not to talk nonsense. Okay, mom knows, hang up first, I'll call you video over, mom wants to see my granddaughter. After that, she hung up the phone. Han pick up the beginning just walked into the toy room, mom's video called. After connecting, Han's mom couldn't wait to urge, "Where is my granddaughter, hurry to show mom." Han pick up the beginning of a helpless smile, "Small dumplings, you do not want to talk to grandma? Quickly come over." Little Tang Yuan heard, quickly threw the toys in his hands, striding the small short legs on the ass ran over. Grabbed the cell phone handed over by Han Picchu, looked at the video of Han's mother and revealed a sweet smile, milky voice shouted, "Grandma, is it grandma?" As soon as she saw the little cub in the camera, a doting and kind smile appeared on Han Ma's face, "Hey, it's grandma, the little boy is so pretty." But whenever she hears words of praise and commendation, the little Tang Yuan will grin and receive them without modesty. "Grandma, where are you? Why don't you come to see little dumplings?" Grandma is in her hometown, so when little dumplings are on vacation, they can come back together with Papa. So grandma, what's fun in the old country? Little Tang Yuan was like a little chatterbox, chatting happily with Han's mom. Han Jichu also didn't expect that little Tang Yuan had the attribute of being a chatterbox and was curious. Through the video, a moment for Han mom to take her to see the geese, a moment to see the ducklings, a moment to see the cows and sheep, to see the rabbits. Little Tang Yuan was not only polite and well-behaved, but also sweet-talking and good-sounding, which made Han's mom so happy that the smile on her face never disappeared from the beginning to the end. Yelpin' grandmother hung up the video call. Little Tang Yuan, full of anticipation and yearning, asked, "Poop, how long will we go back to our hometown to see grandma?" Little Tang Yuan misses her grandmother. Han picked up the beginning and said in a bad mood, "Do you miss grandma, or do you miss the geese, ducks and rabbits in grandma's house?" Being poked and prodded in the heart of the little dumplings also do not know what embarrassment is, said with a smile, "All want it." Han picked up the beginning and touched her little head, said, "When the little dumpling summer vacation, POA will take you back home to see grandma, okay?" "Yes." Little Tang Yuan danced happily. Yu Chu Kan, who had just entered the house, saw her and asked curiously, "What is it that makes you so happy, little Yuan Yuan?" "Mama, little sourdough is going to go back home to play with Popa." Yu Chu-chan looked at Han Jichu in confusion. After Han Jichu briefly explained, she understood what had happened. However, she didn't take a stand on the matter, but urged, "Little dumplings, it's bedtime, hurry up and go to the bath with your mom and go to bed." "Oh." Little sourdough answered. "Little round so sticky him." Han pick up the beginning is really afraid that she said to help her bath words. After all, it is not the real biological daughter, psychological barrier more or less exist a little. The good thing is that the little dumplings did not make any trouble, obediently followed Yu Chu Kan back to the bedroom, bathing to go. Han Jichu first cleaned up the scattered toys, and then returned to his room, lying on the bed to empty himself. Too many things had happened for him today. Signing up with an entertainment company, activating the system, agreeing to a fake marriage. Everything felt so unbelievable. Just as he was organizing his thoughts, a small silhouette ran into the room, climbed onto the bed, and jumped into his arms. The bar. Little dumpling lay on his chest and nibbled towards his face. Smelling the thick milky scent of the little cub, Han Jichu smiled. It's so nice to have such a little cotton coat that's both warm and sticky. Immediately after, Yu Chu Cicada appeared at the door, saying in a good-natured manner, "In a flash you've disappeared, hurry and go back to bed with your mom." Little Tang Yuan clumsily climbed up from Han Zichu's body, then grabbed his hand and pulled it up. Chapter 13, Grimm's Fairy Tales, Must Add Money. Staring at Han Jichu with big eyes full of hope, said in a sticky voice, "POA, little Tang Yuan wants to listen to a bedtime story." Han Jichu, where will tell what children's bedtime stories are, immediately towards Yu Chu Kan cast a look of help. Yu Chu Kan, who was peeking, naturally took in his gaze of help, but she continued to play with her cell phone unperturbed. The corner of her mouth imperceptibly hooked up a smile, and in her heart she secretly slandered, "Humph, now you know to beg me? Before you were not quite horizontal? You were not intimate with the little dumplings? Now you want to find a way to coax your little cotton jacket, I do not care." Looking at the little dumplings full of expectation eyes, Han Jichu knows that he can't refuse the little cub at all, and can only ask for help from the sand sculpture system in his heart. "System, is there a fairy tale for sale in the mall?" After asking, he realized that he didn't seem to have the popularity value to buy, so he asked in vain. "But how do you know the sand sculpture system is even rare to extend a helping hand to him?" "There is, and this system can also provide interest-free lending services." Han Jichu casually purchased a copy of Grimm's fairy tales priced at 100,000 popularity value among the commodities listed by the system. He didn't know if it was good or bad anyway, so it was always right to buy the expensive one. Host borrows 100,000 popularity values to purchase a copy of Grimm's fairy tales. A burst of golden light flashed by, and many more fairy tales appeared in Han Picchu's mind. The corners of his mouth smiled slightly, disdainfully blinked. "You Chukan, little boy, you think it's hard to get me?" Han Jichu lightly coughed twice, cleared his throat, and slowly said, "Little dumplings, Daddy will tell you a story of Little Red Riding Hood." "Aha!" Little dumplings nodded straight, two small hands pillowed under the small face, a serious listening to the good behavior. Once upon a time, there was a lovely little girl who was loved by everyone who saw her. "Is there a little dumpling cute?" Little dumplings staring with big eyes, interrupted. "Just as cute as the little dumplings." Han pick up the beginning to continue to speak, but her favorite is still her grandmother. What she wants grandmother will give her what? Little Tang Yuan's grandmother also likes little Tang Yuan very much. The attribute of the little chatterbox is once again on. Han Picchu gently patted her back. Once, grandma gave the little girl a little red hat, which fit perfectly on her head and was also particularly nice and pretty. From then on, the little girl never wanted to wear any other hat, so everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. Little Tang Yuan listened with great interest, but the little chatterbox always liked to interrupt Han Jichu. And Yu Chu-chan on the side didn't know when she put down her cell phone, listening with extra fascination. When he heard that Grandma and Little Red Riding Hood were eaten by wolves, little Tang Yuan's teardrops snapped and flowed downward. Yu Chu-chan also glared at him fiercely. Han Jichu didn't dare delay and hurriedly went on. When she finished listening to Little Red Riding Hood's story, she burst out laughing with joy again. What an emotionally charged little cub. Little Tang Yuan should be like Little Red Riding Hood in the future. Listen to your mom and don't listen to strangers, yo. Little Tang Yuan nodded. Well, little Tang Yuan won't believe the big bad wolf. After saying this, she looked at Han Zichu and said, "POA, little Tang Yuan wants to go back home to see her grandmother." Han pick up the beginning of the scratch her little nose, said with a smile, "You little ghost, is it want to go to see grandma? Or do you want grandma's little red hat? Well, didn't we agree that when you're on summer vacation, Daddy will take you back? Now, be a good boy and go to sleep." Han Jichu turned off the bedside lamp, and the little dumplings also closed their eyes happily. Yu Chu-chan looked at him with a complicated expression as he was putting the little dumpling to sleep, and an inexplicable sentiment quietly grew in her heart. The carefree little sourdough didn't take long to fall asleep with even breathing. Han Jichu tiptoed up and got out of bed, then gently walked out of the room, bringing the door with her in the process. Ding ding. Han Jichu, who had just returned to his room to lie down, received a WeChat. "Big fish, thank you." Han Jichu knew what she was trying to express and replied, "Something within business, no need to be polite. Of course, next time, if a big friend also wants to listen to a story, then you have to add money." Taking the opportunity to flirt and poke fun at her. Big fish, roll. Chopper emoji. Looking at her reply, Han Picchu smiled, shook his head, and muttered, "Cranky, too cranky woman is not good." Big fish, right, tomorrow morning you drive Wang Ma to the airport, she has an 8 o'clock flight. The car key is placed in the small cabinet on the garage wall, the password is 0909. The line. After the return, Han picked up the beginning of the first set the alarm clock, and then fell asleep. After tossing and turning all day, he fell into a deep sleep in no time. Chapter 14, Fellow Sisters, Rich Woman's 4 Treasures. Good guy, look at the thickness of this at least. 7 or 8,000 ah. But Han Jichu didn't reach out to pick it up. This guy wearing sunglasses and masks, coupled with the previous sneaky behavior, it does not look like a good person. Han did not dare to ask for his money. Seeing that he did not move, the strange man eagerly said, "Brother, don't worry, I'm not a bad guy." See, Han Jichu vigilantly scrutinized his gaze. It is clear that he does not believe his words. The strange man sighed helplessly, and then slowly removed the sunglasses and mask, pointing to his face and said, "Brother, recognize this face?" Han Picchu was shocked by this handsome face in front of him. Don't get me wrong, his orientation is very normal. And although this face is very handsome, there is still a certain gap compared to Han Jichu. He was shocked because he recognized this face. By Lu Ming, a popular actor in the entertainment industry nowadays. Don't look at the face of a fresh meat, but he's a serious powerhouse actor. The several ancient costume dramas he has acted in are all big hits, and no one dares to compete with them in the ratings of the same period. With his handsome looks and superb acting skills, he has captured countless teenage fans and mom fans, no less than the flow of fresh meat. Even people who don't care much about the entertainment industry like Han Zichu know about him, so it can be seen how popular he is now. Moreover, more critical is that this guy is also the Big Fish Film and Media Company, is considered to be his senior brother. Han pick up the beginning deliberately flirted, "You, this face mouth looks quite familiar. Ainima, is this speaking human language?" Bai Luming glared at him in a bad mood, "You sell marinated meat? And face mouth?" "Just kidding, don't mind, are you Bai Luming?" Bai Luming nodded and said, "Now you believe that I am not a bad person, right?" Han pick up the beginning of a great sense of doubt looking at him, asked, "What are you doing?" "Hey." Bai Luming heavy sigh, helplessly said, "This is not want to get rid of the agent and assistant, painfully play a day? You don't look at us these public artists bright and shiny, but many times they can't help it, the daily schedule is also full of arrangements, even a little private space and time or not. Can you believe it? I haven't had a break in 6 months. So today, I'm going to have a full day of fun." Han pick up the beginning of a glance at him, said in a bad mood, "You can pull down, other stars and artists want to be busy and have no opportunity to it, do not stop here Versailles. When you paste, love how to play, have your rest time, who cares about you ah." Well, Bai Luming stared straight at him. "Are you polite? Do you know how to talk? The first thing you say is that you're confused, can you hope for something good?" Han Jichu started the car and slowly drove away from the airport. "Hey buddy, what's your name?" The familiar Bai Luming took the initiative to find a topic of conversation. "Your name is Han Jichu. That's a good name. What's good about it?" Bai Luming full of grudging little eyes, slightly embarrassed sardonic smile, "This guy is the devil, right?" He was just making a casual remark. "Little Han, you good young to drive a 10 million luxury car, rich second generation?" Han Pickup early slightly twisted his head to look at him, confirmed eyes, "Is a self-cooked also thick-skinned people?" "It's not a rich second generation, it's a rich woman." Bai Luming was dumbfounded again. "Quite good, just with you and I do not share the same face value, soft rice hard to eat is also simple and simple law." Then asked curiously, "Small Han brother has a doubt puzzled, like your style of children, there will be candles, rope art, collar handcuffs, queen whip and so on?" "Don't get me wrong, I don't mean to offend, I'm just curious." Hey, if he wants to ask these words, Han pick up the beginning of the spirit. Meaningful smile, line small white, did not see out you also know quite a lot of it. Bai Luming quickly explained, no, all through the books and audio-visual learning from the shallow knowledge. Brother to tell you, do our business, far more than you say these, there are a lot more than you can imagine props it. Oh? Little Han you hurry to tell, brother also open eyes. Bai Luming looks like he is thirsty for knowledge. Xiao Bai, do you know the 4 treasures of the rich woman? Bai Luming shook his head. The 4 treasures of the rich woman refers to the rich woman's happy ball, the rich woman's happy fish and the rich woman's flame mountain, the rich woman's closed moon fan. Bai Luming stared with big eyes and asked curiously, "What are these?" Han pick up the beginning to reveal a profound smile, said, "Do not be anxious, and listen to brother slowly to you to say." After he finished his story, Bai Luming has been shocked dumbfounded, 3 views broken a place. Chapter 15, Registering for Marriage, the setup is quite deep. As soon as he woke up, little Tang Yuan began to cry after realizing that Popo was gone, and Yu Chuchuan, on the other hand, tried to coax and explain, so he tossed and turned until now and hasn't even eaten yet. Han Jichu brought out the rice that Wang Ma had warmed up before she left from the kitchen, and after they finished eating, they sent little Tang Yuan to kindergarten together. This is also little Tang Yuan's wish. Even while sitting in the car, she was excited and dancing around. Because there were just too many vehicles, Han Jichu could only park the car on the side street and walk over. As soon as he got out of the car, little Tang Yuan couldn't wait to hold Pamama's hand. The 2 hands are fluttering, and the little short legs are kicking high, the little face is full of satisfaction and happiness. Yu Chukan and Han Jichu glanced at each other inadvertently, and then hurriedly turned their heads away, no longer looking at him, their faces flashing a touch of wine red. Han Jichu was feeling very special right now, and even though he knew that it was an act and a fake, he couldn't contain the emotions of fulfillment, joy, and happiness that welled up. Stealing a glance at Yu Chukan, who was focused on walking without looking away, He wondered what she was feeling right now. Unbeknownst to him, after he withdrew his gaze, Yuchukin also used the corner of her eye to sneak a glance at him. Like a family of three, they walk down the street and always attract the eyes of passers-by. Dad is handsome, mom is pretty, and daughter is good and cute, causing a wave of envy and jealousy. At the entrance of the kindergarten, the director and kindergarten teachers were standing at the entrance to welcome the little cubs. When they saw the family of three, they all cast curious glances. "Good day, Grandma Gardner. Good day, little Teacher Lee." Little Tang Yuan smiled and greeted the garden manager and her teachers. The headmaster and Teacher Lee even smiled in unison and replied, "Hello, little Tang Yuan. I have to say, small sourdough is really very rare." Kindergarten teachers and the director, all especially like the well-behaved and understanding and cute little sourdough. "Little dumplings show off," said the director of the grandmother, Teacher Lee. "This is my poop." Han Jichu hastily reached out and took the initiative to greet the headmaster. "Ms. Lee, how are you? I'm little Tang Yuan's father, Han Jichu." "Mr. Han, how are you?" Little Ms. Lee is a beautiful girl who just graduated from college, and when shaking hands with Han Chichu, she was shy and blushed. Indeed, Han Chichu's face value is undoubtedly of great lethality to a little girl like Ms. Lee. Han Zichu squatted down, while organizing the skirt and bare backpack for little Tang Yuan, while whispering, "Little Tang Yuan, be good in kindergarten, listen to the headmistress grandma and little Teacher Lee, after school dad will come to pick you up I'll." "Aha." Little Tang Yuan nodded straight, "Papa must come yo." Han pick up the beginning of the little dumplings handed over to the teacher, said with a smile, "The director, Mr. Lee, my little dumplings on you." The director smiled and said, "Mr. Han, you're welcome, this is our duty. Besides, the little dumplings are very good and understandable, I don't know how much heart we have saved." After saying goodbye to the little cubs, Han Su-chu and Yuchukin went straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau. It didn't take long for the two of them to come out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Sitting in the car, Han Jichu looked at the red marriage license in his hand, a faint smile on his face. Yuchu-chan is okay, after all, it is not the first time, there is no excitement, but the heart still gave birth to a trace of a strange feeling. Han picked up the beginning, patted the marriage certificate in his hand, looked at her and said, "Leader, my first time but to you ah." The little dumplings are not there. Yuchukin resumed the icy cold state that no one is allowed to enter. He glared at him fiercely, "Can you speak properly? Why say so disgusting?" Han Chichu didn't argue with her, but smiled and asked, "Leader, do you think you can fulfill one of my wishes?" Yu Chu-chan frowned and asked doubtfully, "What wish? Tell me first." Seeing that he looked like he wanted to speak but didn't dare to, Yu Chu-ken impatiently urged, "Have something to say, hurry up and say it, what's the point of dilly-dallying?" Han picked up the beginning to raise his eyes to sneak a look, and then took a deep breath, slowly said, "Leadership you see we are now regardless of whether it is true or false, but also be regarded as a legitimate couple recognized by the state. Can you call your husband to here?" Yu Chu-ken stared at him with cold eyes, and said in an extremely unkind tone, "Han Pikshu, do you want to die? If you don't call, just don't call, why get angry?" Han Jichu muttered, "I don't have any other ideas, just simply want to hear a sound, to smooth out my complex mood after receiving the license." "Hum." Yu Chu-ken coldly hummed, "No other ideas also cannot, dreaming." Han pick up the beginning of a shrug, and then start the sedan, said, "Send you to the company or where to go?" "To the Triumph Shopping Plaza." "What's the point of going there?" Chapter 16, Bully President, Hidden Mysteries. The two just walked into the extremely luxurious decoration, full of force style store, neatly stood in 2 rows, wearing a uniform suit skirt. Shoppers will be hands folded in front of the body. The face of the warm and subtle smile, while respectfully, shouted in unison, "Welcome." International high-end luxury brand flagship store is not the same, just from the shopper's appearance, posture, and soft service attitude, etiquette and manners, mannerisms, etc., so that customers cannot help but give birth to a pleasant mood, as well as the comfort of a home away from home. Not waiting for the store guide salesman greetings, Yu Chu-ken said in a cold voice, "As always, trouble you help him with a few sets of suitable clothes." "Yes, ma'am." "Sir, please follow us this way." Han Jichu was slightly stunned. He didn't expect Yu Chu-ken to come to buy clothes for him. But on second thought, he was relieved, guessing it was to deal with her parents. There's nothing to refuse, after all, being decent is not only a matter of respect for oneself, but likewise for others. Not to mention is to see the in-laws, that style naturally cannot be too low. High-end luxury brand is indeed unusual. Ordinary brand cannot be compared to. The design is excellent, comfortable fabrics, tailoring, exquisite craftsmanship, attention to detail and so on. After changing into the clothes selected by the shopping guide, Han picks up the beginning of a change. Transformed into a mature and stable, domineering president of the full business elite, will be his handsome and heroic male charisma to show to the fullest. Even Yuchuken sitting in the rest area could not help but light up, and even could not help but nod slightly. The pretty shopping guides in the store are all attracted by the handsome Han Chi-chu. All of them have little stars in their eyes, and their faces are peach blossom, and their hearts are swirling, so they can't wait to press Han Chi-chu on the ground for a round of inhumane friction. Damn, nowhere to put the female hormones. There's no such thing as love at first sight, but it's just love at first sight. Especially for such peculiar creatures as women, although they might say they don't care on their lips, they are actually still-faced dogs. However, when they saw Yuchuken sitting on the sofa, they could only powerlessly lower their heads, ashamed of themselves, and even if their competitive spirit was strong, they couldn't have the heart to compete. There is no way, the gap is too big and too obvious, simply not in the same level, completely no comparison. Luckily, Yuchuken is here. If Han Jichu came alone, I'm afraid he's already surrounded by this group of warblers, right? Perhaps when he left, he could still find several spousal rights coupons in his clothes, pants pockets, and shopping bag. However, a professional is a professional after all. With precise and sharp eyes, unique and sharp aesthetics as well as rich and outstanding wearing experience, the shopping guide lady quickly and accurately selected and matched several sets of clothes for Han Jichu from head to toe. Han Jichu had to admire the elite shopping guide's ability. In fact, the main thing is that he is handsome and has a good figure, so it's so easy to pick and match. Even wrapped in a layer of burlap, that is also a kind of fashion. Of course, high-end luxury brands, the price is naturally high. Even though Han picked up the beginning of a psychological preparation, but when he saw the bill, was still shocked. Damn, just 5 sets of clothes, but to be more than 600,000, how not to go rob? Obviously he misunderstood, this can be much faster than robbing. Which is wearing clothes This fucking is the real gold dress This more than 600,000 if you spend out. For him, not only is the blood dripping from the heart is simply to die. Just when he was ready to cheekily return the goods, Yuchuken took out a gold card and handed it over, still cold and concise. There is no password. Han Jichu just looked at her, but didn't push back. Because of the poor, he does not deserve. This huge sum of money for him, heartache will hurt. But for Yuchuchan, it's not even worth mentioning, not even a penny. There is no need for a worthless face to swollen face, just show off, why bother with money? What's more, he would have been even if he was adopted, eat a little, drink, spend a little with a little, so what? What's wrong with that? Moreover, even if he wants to play hard to get, Yuchuken won't give him a chance. After all, in Yuchutsan's opinion, he is working for himself, acting for himself, and these are just a little bit more expensive props, and it is only right that they should have their own to provide. She didn't have the habit of consuming her staff and exploiting her subordinates. Therefore, Han picked up the beginning of the strength to eat the soft rice. He was at ease. He could have beaten 10 rich women in this style. Carrying a large bag of shopping bags, Han Jichu, like a small follower, continues to follow Yuchutsan's back. Chapter 17, Wearing Rings on Each Other, System Molestation. This is the reality of it. For you to the value of the city, for the other is a drop in the ocean. Purpose impure Yuchuchan, without thinking said, okay, on this one, the size of the size with us is also suitable, trouble you help us wrap up. Good lady. Han picked up the beginning of the very initiative to walk to the cashier, handing over his bank card. Once this $2 million was spent, he became a real poor man again. Heartache was inevitable, but compared to the more than $600,000 he had spent on the clothes before, he felt it was more worthwhile and more willing. After all, the meaning was different. However, Yuchuken didn't stop it either. Just a hint of an imperceptible smile appeared at the corner of her mouth, but it was well hidden and concealed by her. The two of them each had their own thoughts. Perhaps they both knew it all, they just didn't declare it. Let's go home. Yuchuchan's voice is no longer as cold and hard as before, without the slightest emotion, but has become much more gentle. Sitting in the car, Han Jichu didn't rush to fire up the engine and start, but took out the small box containing the ring and slowly opened it. Removing the lady's ring, he then looked up at Yuchuken and slowly said, "Can I put it on for you?" Yuchuken also looked at him, sexy red lips wriggled a few times, but did not say anything. After staring at each other for a long time, she finally stretched out her left hand. Han Chichu gently pinched her catkin and carefully and meticulously put the ring on her ring finger. As of this moment, the ring finger was no longer nameless. Pinch her white and tender little hand, carefully appreciate up, the corner of the mouth raised a smile. Couldn't help but sigh, so pretty, so beautiful. Let him hold his hand, after a long time before saying in a bad mood, have you seen enough? Said he pulled his hand back. Han pick up the beginning of the laugh, where to see enough ah? Then he took off the men's ring, ready to put it on himself. However, Yu Chuchan snatched it over, then grabbed his right hand and put it on his ring finger. Only compared to Han Chichu's gentle elegance, her actions were undoubtedly much simpler and rougher. Don't think too much, I'm just returning the favor. Yu Chukan made a point of explaining. However, a faint blush rose on her pretty face, but in an instant, she resumed her usual noble and cool demeanor. Heh, a woman who doesn't mean what she says. Such far-fetched excuses and reasons, how dare she say them? Han pick up the beginning of just a slight smile, let's go home. After saying that, he started the vehicle and slowly drove away from the shopping plaza. When he returned to the villa, it was nearly 12 o'clock. In the heat of the day, and tossed all morning, love clean two people return home, cannot wait to drill into their own rooms, shower and change clothes. While taking a shower, Han Jichu wasn't idle, don't get me wrong, it wasn't doing sports. System, the third strike mission has been completed, what rewards do I have? Completing the third strike mission rewards the host with one lottery opportunity, comes with 10,000 popularity points, and opens the attribute panel. Attribute panel? What the hell? Let's take a look at it first. The virtual screen in Han Picture's mind instantly lit up. The left side of the screen was his three-dimensional image, while the right side displayed various attributes. In addition to basic information such as his name, gender, age, height and weight, there were also some strange attributes. Physical quality, comprehensive attributes such as strength, speed, agility, resistance to blows, etc. 60, full value 100, average value for normal adult males is 50. Looking at this attribute, Han Jichu frowned. Crap, I'm a strong young man, and I'm worth a mere 60 points? On what grounds? It's only fucking better than a weakling, right? Dissatisfaction aside, the precise value given by the system doesn't change according to his wishes. Charisma, 90. Intelligence, 75. The intelligence value given by the system again caused Han Jichu to be upset for a while. Popularity value, minus 90,000 points. Skills, God grade painting skills, God grade singing skills. Han Jichu looked at the attribute panel in a daze. Well, in addition to handsome, he is nothing? You're a big shot. I'm sorry. A good mood, instantly let the dog system to destroy clean. I want to draw a prize. Han pick up the beginning of the decision to draw a prize to comfort their own cold heart. The virtual screen suddenly changed and a lottery screen appeared. Start. Stop. Congratulations to the host for winning the divine guitar playing skill. Well, not bad, Han Jichu instantly felt soothed again. System tip, after deducting the 10,000 popularity points from this reward, the host still owes 90,000 points, so please repay the loan as soon as possible. Good guy, Han Jichu think this sand sculpture dog system is on purpose. Chapter 18, Test of Cooking Skills, Pugnacious Mother-in-Law. Yu Chuchan walked to the living room to take a seat on the sofa, then turned her head slightly sideways and tended to her waterfall hair with her hands, inadvertently showing off her lazy side. She just got out of the bath, her soft pink skin steaming with a light wine red color, and her body exuding an elegant fragrance. Han picks up the beginning of the light, sniffing the sweet smell in the air. The already restless heart becomes more and more stupid. The knot in his throat surged, and he couldn't help but swallow. Yu Chuchan, while organizing her hair, asked carelessly, "What do you want to eat at noon?" "I'll order takeout." Han Pikshu pondered for a moment. In the end, he still wanted to experiment with how awesome divine cooking really is. Slowly said, "Let's eat at home, takeout is not healthy, I'll go see what other ingredients are in the refrigerator first." Yu Chuken gave a beat, then looked at him, questioned, "You can cook ah? Can you eat?" Gave her a blank stare, said in a bad mood, "Children growing up in the countryside, who does not know how to cook ah? Anyway, it won't kill you." Then he got up and went to the kitchen. Opened the refrigerator and saw that there were quite a lot of ingredients inside. The refrigerator was stuffed to the brim Without saying a word, Han Jichu rolled up his sleeves, apron a tie and started to work. In the living room, Han Jichu just left. Yu Chutsan's cell phone just rang. Picking up the phone, it was a video call request from the mother. Yu Chukan took a deep breath, then scratched the connect button. In the video, a beautiful woman whose appearance is 6 or 7% similar to hers appears. From the shape of her face and features, it was obvious that the beautiful woman who was only wearing light makeup was definitely a great beauty, no less than Yu Chukan when she was young. Even now, because of proper maintenance, the relentless years had not left too heavy traces on her face. Those who don't know would think that she is Yu Chutsan's older sister. Yu Chukan changed her usual cold and noble image, instantly transformed into a good and sweet little cotton coat. Her delicate face reveals a sweet and warm smile, pampering, "Dear mother, I don't know what are you doing here, what do you want?" Good guy, she's really the queen of variety. If Han Zichu saw her face now, I'm afraid he wouldn't believe his own eyes, right? The three views would have to be shattered. The beautiful woman you mother immediately face a black, said in a bad mood, "Do not play with the old lady sloppy, today is what day you will not forget it?" How can This is not at home waiting for you and dad's visit? Yu's mom stared in disbelief and questioned, "Are you really married? You're not fooling me, are you?" Yu Chukan rolled her eyes in a charming manner, "Mother, don't you understand your daughter? Do I look like someone who would joke about her life's events?" After saying that, stretching out his right hand in front of the camera shook, when? See it? You know what this is, right? Yu's mom stared intently at the wedding ring on her hand, but disbelief was still written in her eyes. Her reaction is naturally in Yu Chutsan's expectations, know that there is no so muddle through, immediately said, "Mother, you wait, I will show you something." After saying this, he took his cell phone and quickly walked up to the second floor and returned to his room. From the nightstand took out the marriage certificate, slowly opened it in front of the camera and showed it to Yu mother. Yu Chukan proudly said, "How is it, mother? Believe it now?" Yu mother nodded in surprise, but then a bright smile appeared on her face, excitedly said, good daughter finally got married, our family is finally at ease, good By the way, is little boy's relationship with him good? I'm warning you, if little girl doesn't like it, even if he's good and excellent, not to mention that I don't recognize him, it's impossible for our family to recognize him. Mother, do you think my daughter is that unreliable? I can't marry him until I have little boy's approval. Don't worry, his relationship with little boy is very good, little boy can't wait to be by his side 24 hours a day, even I'm very jealous. The smile on Mrs. Yu's face was completely unstoppable, and she kept nodding her head, saying, that's good, that's good. How is this son-in-law of my mother's? You tell me about it. Yu Chukan said without thinking, this son-in-law of yours is not bad, he is very handsome and has a good character, he is still young and has just graduated from university. What is it? Isn't your daughter great? Yu mom nodded with satisfaction, good, I didn't see that you have learned to eat young grass, There is the style of the old mom back then. Mom! Yu Chukan disgruntledly pouted, what are you talking about? Am I your own child? Do you have the nerve to insult your own daughter like this? Mom, you snorted disdainfully. Yu Chukan thought about it, with a look of wanting to say something, and only after a long time did she hesitantly say, Mom, I won't hide it from you, in fact, picking up the beginning of the countryside, he is from the countryside, and the family conditions are also very general. Chapter 19, Mother and Daughter, Earthy Love Story. Hearing Yu mom say she couldn't come, Yu Chukan was simply ecstatic, but she could only secretly rejoice in her heart, but on the surface, she didn't show any emotion. She even pretended to be disappointed and said, can't come? I also prepared a lot of things with pick up the beginning. Good guy, this fake acting skills, do not go out of the road are a pity. But Yu's mother smiled and said, it's okay, isn't it about to be summer vacation? When the time comes, you can just lead my granddaughter and son-in-law back to the capital. Yu Chukan quickly unfolded the brainstorm, big eyes drip a turn to think of a response. Pretending to be helpless, she said, Mother, it's really unfortunate, picking up the first has promised the little good boy to take her back to her hometown when she's on summer vacation. Humph, you have Zhang Liang's plan, I have a ladder over the wall. Mother Yu frowned, then said, since I promised little boy, there's nothing I can do about it, and it's only right that you, as a daughter-in-law, go to see your in-laws first. It doesn't matter, during the National Day and Mid-Autumn Festival, it's okay to go back to the capital. Okay, let me see my son-in-law first. Yu Chukan took the cell phone again and walked downstairs. While walking, said, Mother, I secretly give you a look. Pick up the first is not yet ready for psychological preparation. You this cold suddenly talk to him, do not scare him. Mother Yu smiled and nodded, okay. Sneakily approaching the kitchen door, the camera focuses on Han Jichu, who is concentrating on cooking. A thick aroma filled the air, and Yu Chuchuan couldn't help but gulp. This fragrance, it's just too tempting. Complicated eyes looked at his upright posture. They say that serious men are the most handsome. Yu Chukan could not help but be a little lost in thought. After a long time of regaining her senses, she quietly retreats from the kitchen again. Returning to the living room, she sat down and asked, Mother, do you think your son-in-law is okay? Mother Yu nodded her head with great satisfaction. Very good, tall, handsome and gentle, I am still very satisfied. Then again, the seriousness of the teaching up, daughter, since you are now married, that your bad habits should be changed to change, cannot be like before. In the kitchen, after nearly an hour of busy work, Han Jichu finally made a sumptuous lunch. He tried his current handiwork and almost didn't bite his tongue off. Good Lord, God-grade cooking really wasn't something to sneeze at, and he had never eaten such delicious dishes before. Whether it was the knife work or anything else, it was worthy of the name of God-level cooking. If the system produces it, it must be a divine product. After serving the meal on the dining table, Han Shichu looked at Yu Chukan in the living room and realized that a large blush had surfaced on her beautiful face. Walking over, he asked with concern, Leader, why is your face so red? Do you have a fever? Yu Chukan quickly shook her head and said, No, it may be too hot. It is good to be fine, eat. Gazing at his back, Yu Chukan let out a long breath, and in her heart, she said, Mother is really something. Why did she suddenly tell herself such a shameful thing? Tainted, too tainted, tainted demon kings tainted. On the dining table, Yu Chukan gulps at the sumptuous food. Boiled pork, mapo tofu, back-to-pot meat, white oil taro and a pickled vegetable fan soup. Yu Chukan looked at him and said, How do you know I love these dishes? Han Chichu said carelessly as he served her rice, Wang Ma said you like Sichuan cuisine, so I made a few random dishes. How does it taste? Yu Chukan couldn't wait to pick up her chopsticks, picking up a piece of boiled pork slice and putting it in her mouth. Right after entering, the rich multi-layered flavors and textures instantly blossomed on the taste buds. Delicious, really delicious, spicy and fresh, tender meat, rich in flavor. This is the most authentic and delicious boiled meat slice she has ever eaten. Originally thought that Wang Ma's cooking skills were already comparable to a special chef, but I didn't realize that Han Jichu's cooking skills were even braver than Wang Ma's, whose ministry is this. How is it? Is it good? Han Pickup early asked with a smile. Good. Just wanted to blurt out, but then hastily put it back, pretending to be reserved and arrogant, said, Okay, average. Han Pickup early shook his head and smiled. Good or bad to eat his heart is still very forceful, for Yu Chukan open eyes say blind words, he neither poke, nor refute. He kept on chucking dishes into her bowl, eat more. And Yu Chukan is also unprecedentedly coming to the table, burying her head in the air. Moreover, her movements looked very elegant. If she didn't see it with her own eyes, Han Zichu would have a hard time believing that all the dishes on the table had basically gone into her belly. Good guy, it turns out that she's still a complete foodie, and she's hiding it really deeply. After eating, quite satisfied, Yu Chukan is full of cozy face lying on the sofa, rubbing her stomach, eliminating food. Han Jichu, on the other hand, bitterly cleaned up the dishes. Chapter 20, Wildly Bombarded and Penniless. As long as he is not embarrassed, then the embarrassment is others, so Han Jichu decided to carry out the earthy love language to the end, and struck hard at the cold and noble female president. Han Jichu gently asked, Leader, are you tired? The sudden concern makes Yu Chuchan feel slightly numb, but also truthfully returned, Okay, not very tired. How can it be? Han picked up the beginning of the pretense of surprise questioned, You and my heart are running all day and night, how? Can not be tired? Han Jichu stared at her with unblinking eyes, frowned and said, Leader, there's something on your face. Yu Chuchuan hastily reached out and touched it, What is there? A little pretty. Not giving her any time to react, Han Jichu pursued the attack. Leader, why do you feel strange today? Yu Chukan subconsciously blurted out, What's wrong? What's weird about it? It looks good. Han Jichu still wanted to continue to provoke, but Yu Chukan is stood up, fiercely glared at him, said in a bad mood, Smooth talk, boring. Then fled as if towards the second floor, the body is slightly staggered. She has long been covered in red face, dare not continue to stay. Han pick up the beginning of the bombardment of earthy love words. Let her some cannot eat. Spare the cold as ice frost. She was also aroused by the desire to stop, even her legs are a little soft. Looking at her back, Han pick up the beginning of a slight smile. A heart cannot help but be very pleased. What the rustic cold female president, in my earthy love words under the continuous attack, not still be provoked by the blush heartbeat legs soft? Han Jichu got up and walked towards the second floor, looking at Yu Chutsan's closed door, couldn't help but be amused. He walked into the toy room of the little dumplings, grabbed a drawing board, brushes and paper, and went downstairs again. Returning to the living room and sitting down, the golden-haired sugar bean lay quietly at his feet, expressing considerable satisfaction with this new feeding officer. Han Jichu drew extremely seriously. He was going to make a fairy tale comic strip out of the fairy tale he had told the little dumplings. Anyway, there were live characterizations and plots in his mind, so he just drew according to the original. Not long after drawing, the doorbell rang. Presumably young sister arrived. When I opened the door, it was really Lisa Young. Young sister saw him the moment, surprised, dumbfounded, pointing at him. You, pick up the beginning of your. Stammering half a day, also did not say words. Wrong sister, you'd better come in first and talk about it. After changing into slippers, Lisa Roan was still in a state of astonishment. Where is Cicada? Where is the room? Lisa Young hurriedly ran upstairs. Inexplicably, Han Jiechu shook his head and continued to draw his own picture. After about an hour's time, Yu Chuchuan and Lisa Young came downstairs arm in arm, talking and laughing. Without thinking, Lisa Young must have figured out the relationship between them. As soon as she sat down, Rong pulled Han Jichu and said, Jichua, I've already contacted a popular variety show for you, so you'll make your debut from the variety show. Han Jichu curiously asked, Sister Rong, what program? Being a penny. Crap, no way, Sister Rong, you're going to play so big once you debut? Can we not go? This variety show is so hot that even a white guy like Han Jiechu who has no interest in variety shows knows about it and enjoys watching it. This variety show was planned and produced by the largest live broadcast platform in China, Dragon Live. Each episode of the program invites one or two celebrity artists who are currently popular in the entertainment industry to participate. Each guest must live for 2 days and 1 night without any money, no face painting, no borrowing, no credit, no accepting gifts, no dabbling in food and drink, no dabbling in sleep. Everything can only be done on your own, whether you brush dishes or work as a waiter or even beg, as long as you do not violate the law. Of course, if you can spend 2 days and 1 night without eating or drinking plus sleeping in the park, that's fine too. The program would be broadcast live on the Dragon Live platform for the entire 36 hours, which was why there was no way it could be aired on television. Those who had participated in the program, being Ascent, were basically screaming and suffering. Who would participate in this kind of variety show for serious people? However, the truth was that because the program was so hot, the celebrity artists who had participated in the program, but anyone who hadn't made a fool of themselves, their popularity flow and topics had risen. Therefore, although the program was miserable and inhumane, there was an endless stream of celebrity artists who wanted to participate. Lisa Rong blankly glanced at him and said without any humor, What do you think? Do you know how much sis spent to get you into this program? What's more, you're not the main character in this program, you can only be considered an add-on. Chapter 21, Drinking Dogs on the Treat, Cozy Routine. POA. Little Tang Yuan, who was carrying a cute bear backpack, saw Han Shichu and Yu Chukan waiting outside the gate from a long distance away. But obviously, Yu Chukan was selectively forgotten by her. With her short legs, she couldn't wait to run towards Han Shichu. Han Jichu squatted down, spread out his arms, and hugged her, who jumped over. Giggle. Was held in the arms of the little dumpling's happy giggle straight, and then bark a bit, and Han pick up the beginning of the face, nibbled a bite. Stained with her saliva, Han pick up the beginning of a smile, gentle, and asked, Small round, today in the kindergarten good behavior ah? Did you listen well to Mr. Li? Did you eat well and sleep well? Just like an old father, chattering with concern. Little Tang Yuan nodded her head while using her sweet little milky voice to say, Baba, little Tang Yuan is very good, very good. I ate a bowl full of rice, and I slept a lot. Han Jichu gave her a kiss on her delicate little face, causing her to giggle again. Yu Chukan, who was following alongside, instantly felt like an outsider, skimming her mouth in envy and jealousy, looking at the father and daughter with eyes full of jealousy. POA, you quickly put little Tang Yuan down. When he passed a convenience store, little Tang Yuan suddenly shouted at him urgently. Han Jichu thought she wanted to walk on her own, so he put her down. However, as soon as she landed, little Tang Yuan pulled his hand toward the convenience store. Han Jichu asked curiously, "Is little Tang Yuan trying to buy something?" "Little Tang Yuan wants to buy a dog?" "A dog?" Han Jichu was dumbfounded. Is there a dog for sale in a convenience store? He didn't know, he didn't dare to ask, he could only follow the little dumpling into the convenience store. Once in the store, the little dumpling stared at the boss's wife with a pair of big eyes, and asked in a sticky voice, "Auntie, are there any dogs for sale?" The boss lady was also confused by the little dumplings, but still smiled back, "Children, auntie here no dogs for sale yo." Perhaps the little cub is too good too cute, the boss even patiently explained to her, "To buy a dog, you have to call your father to take you to the pet store to buy o." Little dumpling slightly anxious said, "Not that kind of dog? I want to buy a drinking dog." Drinking dog? Well, Han Chichu and the boss's wife were completely confused by this kindergarten creature. In the end, it was Yu Chukin who explained, what she wanted to buy was Wansai milk. What does Wansai milk have to do with dogs? Han Jichu was still confused. Want, woof woof, dog, little dumplings, she only remembers the dog. Well, so it is. Han picked up the beginning, nodded, and then said to the boss's wife, "Please bring me a box of want milk." The boss's wife was also made to laugh and cry by little Tan Yuan's wildly imaginative name. But when Han was ready to pay, the little dumpling said, "Baba, little dumpling, give money. Then you just see her touching $100 bill from her little bear backpack, grinning, "Papa, little Tang Yuan has money, little Tang Yuan treats Papa to a dog drink." It turned out that she suddenly went into the store to buy a dog because she wanted to buy it for herself to drink, and it would be a lie for Han Jichu to say that he wasn't touched. But he still gave Yu Chukin a puzzled look. Yu Chukin said in a bad mood, "This is her own savings of the New Year's money and pocket money, can let the small fortune fan little stingy child to buy you a drink to drink, you just sneak joy, I have never enjoyed this treatment." Han picked up the beginning of the smile is very happy. In the end, it was the persistent little dumpling who paid. Unwrap a bottle of Wansai milk for her, insert the straw, Han Jichu one hand holding Wansai, one hand holding the cub, the mood is quite comfortable. Taking the favorite Wansai, but the little dumplings did not drink, but handed the straw to Han Jichu's mouth, said, "Papa drink, the dog can be good," the little dumpling's favorite drink dog law. Little dumplings unintentionally move, and let him touched, really is a sweet little cotton coat. In order not to let the little cotton padded jacket disappointed, Han picked up the beginning of the pretense of drinking a small mouth, and then said with a smile, "Good, dog really good." Little Tang Yuan joyfully smiled, and handed the straw to his mouth, "Papa drink again." Han picked up the beginning of a shake of the head, said, "Papa is not thirsty now, Papa just want to watch the little dumplings drink." Little Tang Yuan lowered his little head in thought for a moment, then said, "Okay, then, Papa, you can just watch little Tang Yuan drink. If you want to drink a dog, you can tell your little dumpling." Looking at the two people who were in love with their father and daughter, Yu Chutsan's heart was complicated. Both happy, and even a little sweet, but it was also mixed with a strong jealousy. Back at home, Han Zichu tied the waist while saying to the little cub, "Little dumplings, you first go play with the candy for a while, Dad will give you a good meal." Aha! Little Tang Yuan nodded obediently. Chapter 22, Ambiguous Flirtation. Jealousy. Because there is a small round in, so Han pick up the beginning of the dinner naturally cannot do too heavy mouth, more to light mainly. White burned shrimp, steamed sea bass, sweet and sour pork, stewed lion's head, tomato scrambled eggs, crucian carp and tofu soup, nutritionally balanced, rich dishes. Yu Chu Cicada looked at the sumptuous dinner, saliva secretion speed unconsciously accelerated, cannot help but gulp saliva. Little Tang Yuan was no better, except that she could express it without fear. Good aroma Han pick up a lion's head and put it into her bowl, clip crushed and then use a spoon to pick up some, said, "Little dumplings quickly taste daddy's cooking is good to eat?" Without the slightest hesitation, the little Tang Yuan who trusts her daddy took a bite of the lion's head in the spoon into her mouth, and then a look of delicious enjoyment appeared on her little face. Good times, Baba's cooking is better than even Grandma Wan's cooking. Little Tang Yuan couldn't wait to pick up the spoon and ate it himself, and the little devouring look almost didn't make him turn over in adorableness. Han pick up the beginning of the peeling shrimp while whispering, "Little round slow eat, there are still a lot of it." put the peeled shrimp into the bowl of the little dumplings, but the little dumplings picked up the shrimp and handed it to his mouth, said in a sticky voice, "Papa second shrimp." Han picked up the beginning of a slight smile, "Thank you, baby." After warmly peeling the shrimp for the little dumpling, he also delicately organized the thorns in the fish for her, fearing that he might accidentally get stuck. Yuchu-chan is probably used to it, burying her head and eating by herself, not chiming in or even looking at the father and daughter, quietly enjoying the food. Han picked up the beginning of a bowl of soup put in front of her, said gently, "Do not just focus on eating, but also drink some soup, both beauty and nutrition and health, drink more will not hurt." Yuchu-ken looked up at her and nodded, surprisingly softly saying thank you. Seeing the corner of her mouth stained with a grain of rice and a ball of grease, Han Jichu smoothly pulls out a paper towel, "Don't move." And Yuchu-ken subconsciously stayed still, her beautiful eyes staring straight at him. Gently and carefully wiped off the rice and oil stains at the corners of her mouth for her frozen, okay. But Yuchu-ken still maintains a frozen action. If not for the faint reddish hue gradually steaming up on her face, she would have thought that she had been cast under a spell. Han pick up the beginning of the sudden warm heart ambiguous behavior, provoke her to touch unguarded, provoke her dear collision, provoke her mouth dry tongue. Back to her senses, she hastily lowered her head and drank the soup vigorously as a way to cover up her panic and shyness. Han picks up the beginning in the moist and silent, quietly and slowly dominate her heart. Of course, as to when it can be taken over, it is still unknown. Papa, little dumplings sub-satiated. Han pick up the beginning of a look, her little stomach has eaten round and round, will she carry down the chair, said with a smile, eat enough to go to the sugar beans feed it. But the little dumplings are standing still, tilted up the little head, milky voice said, "Poop, you have not given the little dumplings white mouth? Well, the little cub even learned to be jealous." Yuchu-ken sniffed, her pretty face was slightly red again. Han Jichu glanced at the little witty girl helplessly, then pulled out a piece of paper and gently wiped her mouth clean for her. Found little Tang Yuan squatting on the ground behind a clump of flowering plants, not moving a muscle, while Sugar Bean was quietly lying next to her. Chapter 23, Giver of Roses, Cubby Rich Girl. Little Tang Yuan's small hand pulled Yuchu-san's pants, tilted up his little head, looked at her with a pitiful face full of supplication, said with tears in his eyes, "Mama, the dog is so cute," or little Tang Yuan's friend, "We can't eat the dog." Han picked up the beginning of the rush to explain to her, "Mama is cheating Sugar Beans, we do not eat dogs," said and then quickly changed the subject, to avoid her further entanglement, "Small dumplings, you run to the garden alone what? Which knows that the small sourdough slowly and leisurely from the small bag to pick out a red rose too. Grinning, handing it to him as if offering a treasure, "Papa gave you flowers." The red rose must have been picked by her in the back garden. Han pick up the beginning did not go to pick up the roses, but hastily squatted down, holding her little hand to carefully check up, eagerly asked, "Little dumplings, you have not been injured? Did you prick your hand when you picked the flowers?" Little Tang Yuan shook her head and said with a smile, "Papa, did not hurt the hand. Little Tang Yuan picking flowers can be careful it." Hearing her words, coupled with the fact that he really did not find any wounds on her fingers and arms, he breathed a long sigh of relief. A night can be really enough to worry about, kindergarten creatures simply let a person love in pain. Smiling, she took the rose in her hand and asked curiously, "Is this for Daddy?" Little Tang Yuan nodded and shook her head again. This puts Han Jichu and Yuchu-ken are confused, do not understand what she means. "What do you mean, little baby? Is it not for Daddy?" Little Tang Yuan said with a smile, "It's for Papa." Little Tang Yuan wants Papa to give it to Mama. Little Tang Yuan saw that all the other children's poopies gave flowers to their moms, so he wanted his poopy to give flowers to his moms, too. "I see, hey, this little smarty." Han Jichu stroked her little head and said, "Okay, then Daddy will give the flowers to Mommy." Then he handed the red roses to Yuchu-san's face with both hands, and said with a profound smile, "Child's mom, send you a rose, may your face be good, youthful, and as bright as a flower." Good guy, what kind of straight man? Isn't it a lie? This fleshy little love story comes out with his mouth open. Yuchu-san's face showed her shyness, and her flavor blanked him, as if she was scolding him, "Don't talk nonsense in front of the little cubs." But she still accepted the roses, and her heart was also beautifully sweet. Han picks up the beginning and leads the little dumpling into the toy room, accompanying her to play with the blocks. Playing, he suddenly asked with curiosity, "Little Tang Yuan, how much money have you saved?" Hearing his words, little Tang Yuan hurriedly stood up, ran to the door to look, found no one and then closed the door to the room. Her cautious behavior made Han Jichu want to laugh, really a little money fan, little stingy ah. Little Tang Yuan pulled Han Zichu and said in a low voice, Baba, come with me. She brought Han Jichu to a cabinet, and then pulled open the cabinet, which actually held a safe. Good lord, even kindergartners use safes to save money? How much money must there be? However, the little one's safe is quite simple. Except for an electronic combination lock, there are no other complicated means of insurance. She was relieved to see Han Jichu, and started to enter the code directly in front of her. Han Jichu memorized her password with just a glance. It's very simple, the same as the garage key locker's password, both are 0909. He guessed it should be the little one's birthday. Little Tang Yuan opened the safe and really startled Han Jichu. Only to see inside quietly lying at least dozens of brand new zhang, more than 100 large bills, each zhang are 10,000 yuan loaded, even the bank binding zhang money paper are still there. Well, it is true that poverty limits Han's imagination. Little dumplings, a proper little rich woman ah. POA, do you need money? Little Tang Yuan stared at him with big eyes and asked in a soft and sticky voice. Han Jichu smiled and said, little baby, daddy doesn't need money, and daddy has money. Then, if you want to use money in the future, just say out a little Tang Yuan, and little Tang Yuan will have money. Looked at her face a small proud look. Han picked up the beginning of touch her little head, softly said, good, in the future, if daddy wants to use money will look for small dumplings. Okay, quickly close it. Little Tang Yuan grinned, then closed the safe. She waved her hand toward Han Jichu again, signaling him to squat down. Han Jichu didn't know what she wanted to do, but he honestly squatted down. Only to see little Tang Yuan close to his ear, whispering, Papa, tell you a secret, little Tang Yuan's password is 0909. If little sourdough is not at home, Puppy will come to get out by himself. After saying that, he nibbled on his face. Well, what a little money fan, small stingy child, completely is the little baby's slander. Han pick up the beginning of only feel. The little baby generous very, pattern is also very big. Chapter 24, Pacifying the Baby, the program starts. Leaning on the head of the bed in Yuchutsan's bedroom, compared to last night, he had more drawing boards and brushes in his hands, and his body was all lying on the bed, no longer hanging off the bed. After the bath of the little Tang Yuan good behavior lying in his arms, the little cub body exudes a rich pungent milk fragrance, very good smell. And Yuchukan also leaned against the bed, but tonight she didn't play with her cell phone anymore. Instead she quietly waited for Han Chichu to start telling a story. POA, the little dumplings are ready, so start telling. Han Jichu had a wry smile on his face as he looked at Yuchukan and flirted, the little baby is ready, is the big baby ready? Yuchukan didn't say anything, just glared at him fiercely. Coughing. Han picked up the beginning of the clearing of the throat, slowly said, small baby, today to tell you a story of Snow White. The little dumpling stared wide-eyed with a little expression full of anticipation. A long, long time ago. Han Jichu told the story in a gentle magnetic voice while drawing. But he was only halfway through the story when the undercharged little soup dumpling had already fallen into a deep sleep. Carefully putting her down from his body and covering her up again, Han Jichu tiptoed out of the room. Good night. After smiling faintly at Yuchukan, he pulled the bedroom door closed. The next morning, Han Jichu woke up, first went to the gym on the 3rd floor to sweat it out, and then started making breakfast after taking a shower. Just after making breakfast, he was about to go upstairs to call the mother and daughter for dinner when the two happened to come downstairs. While eating, little Tang Yuan looked at Han Jichu and said in a sticky voice, POA, let's go to the zoo today to see little Brainax, Daxiki, and little Fierce Sue, okay? Han Jichu touched her little head and said gently, no, Daddy has to go to work in the next 2 days. Next weekend, Daddy will take you to the zoo to play, okay? The little dumplings were a little unhappy, bulging his mouth and said, Poop, you want to go? Looking at his big eyes also instantly covered with a layer of water mist. Seeing that the little dumplings are about to cry out, Han picked up the beginning hurriedly explained, Daddy is not gone, but go out to work, and the little dumplings can see from the TV Daddy's oh. This said, immediately inspired the interest of the little dumplings, and asked, Poop is going to be on TV? Hey, the little guy knows quite a lot. Han picked up the beginning of the nod, said, yes, Daddy is going to be on TV, then you and Mama watching TV at home will be able to see Daddy. Well, then, after the poop is on TV, you must come back early, or else the little dumpling will miss the poop very much. Daddy promises to come back as soon as he finishes his work. If you miss your daddy, call him, okay? Aha! After eating and appeasing little Tang Yuan, Agent Lisa Young rang the doorbell. In the little dumpling's reluctant gaze, Han picked up the first step on the debut stage of the debut. At this time, on the Dragon Tang live streaming platform, the Body Without a Difference live streaming room. Although it hadn't started broadcasting yet, there were countless netizen viewers waiting in the live room. The number of online viewers, surprisingly, was already as high as more than 5 million. Good guy, see how hot this program is? After the broadcast, how can it be? And now the live broadcast room is a hot, netizens' pop-ups are also talking. I'm looking forward to it, I've been waiting for a month, and it's finally on air. I don't know which guest is invited by the program group this time. It doesn't matter who it is, I just want to see the mess. I wonder if the guest this time will go hungry or sleep on the road. Ha ha. Brush the plate, pretend beggar is also quite good, ha. Big love program ah. The Penniless is a clear stream of variety shows, not only messing around, but also particularly real, and laughs constantly scandalous ah, love this show. Who says it's not? The only shame is that you only get to see one installment a month. From the netizens' pop-ups, we can see that they basically don't have any requirements for the guests, and what they want to see is only the real star artists suffering from the situation. Of course, if the guest is a big-name celebrity artist, then it will be even happier. The netizens and viewers have already figured out the program's nature and know that the program group invites popular celebrity artists or first-tier big names in every episode, so they are not worried at all. While the hot discussion was going on, the originally dark live broadcast room suddenly lit up with a countdown screen. 10, 9, 8, 1. As soon as the countdown ended, the screen instantly changed, and the iconic building of Magic City, the Oriental Pearl Tower, appeared, and the host also appeared in the camera. Hello viewers, welcome to the brand new variety show being Ascent launched by Dragon Live Ping *** home. I am the soy sauce host, Marco Pineapple. Chapter 25, Teasing. Bean Batch, Simply Stupid. By Lu Ming is really amusing, but I have to say he's very real. Indeed very by Lu Ming, as long as you can take a vacation, there is nothing that you can't give up. Heartache dear Ming baby a second, mama love you, but mama how can not help but wanna laugh. There is no doubt that no matter whether it is a passerby or not, or a male or female fan or mom fan of Bai Lu Ming, at this time there is a feeling of gloating. The host, Sister Pineapple, also couldn't help but laugh out loud. Daming ah, after knowing that you're going to participate in our Penniless program, did you do any preparations in advance? Bai Lu Ming nodded and said, definitely, I've made quite sufficient preparations. Oh? Sister Pineapple was suddenly curious, I wonder what kind of preparations did you make, dear Song? Bai Lu Ming returned without thinking, I ate hard this morning, 3 big meat buns, 2 donuts, 2 bowls of tofu brain, and 3 tea eggs and a big steak. Good guy, almost didn't make me vomit. Pineapple's sister looked at him incredulously, this is what you did to prepare? Right. Bai Lu Ming said with a straight face and a smug smile, I guess I can hold out until tonight, and I won't be hungry. Ha ha. This Iron Bean is afraid not a fool? Well, I kind of understand, this guy is not only a funny guy, but also his meow is a silly batch ah. I seriously doubt that the show organizers invited this guy to come here because they want to laugh the audience to death. Speechless Pineapple sister reached out and patted his shoulder, heavy sigh, dear Ming ah, we are also considered old acquaintances, sister must advise you, never give up treatment ah. Bai Lu Ming said with a look of confusion and regret, what's wrong, Sister Pineapple? I'm not sick, what's this nonsense about giving up treatment? No, you're sick, you're very sick. Hey Pineapple sister, don't think we have a good relationship, you are reckless nonsense ah, be careful I'm the same sue you for libel. The audience in front of the screen was already laughing. Bai Lu Ming deserves the name of a comical and naive critic. Pineapple sister slightly shook her head, a look of regret, and then slowly said, the program may also be taking into account your special circumstances, so specially invited another guest to become your partner. Not only were the netizen viewers curious, even Bai Lu Ming was curious. There was another guest? Who is it? Sister Pineapple smiled and said, it's a newcomer, speaking of which, it's still your fellow disciple and dear Song. Oh? White Dear Ming is even more curious, as far as I know, our company has not signed any newcomers ah, in the end who is it? It seems you don't know, well, let's bring out the second guest, the newcomer from Big Fish Film and Media Company, Han Jichu. Then the camera moved to the side of the nanny car, only to see the car door slowly pulled open, almost the same dress as the White Dear Ming Han pick up the beginning immediately appeared in the camera. Han Jichu's appearance instantly triggered the pop-up screen. The male audience's jealousy was overturned, while the female audience, at that time, could not sit still. Crap, this guy is also too damn handsome. I feel like my face value is threatened. Indeed, this guy is really a bit too handsome. I feel like I'm in love. I'm sorry, brother, dear song. I'm going to climb over the wall. Mom, come see your son-in-law. Bai Luming was slightly stunned when he heard Han Picchu's name, and thought it was the same name. However, the moment he saw him, he couldn't help but exclaim out loud, "Ego, crap, Han?" Han Pickup the beginning also did not expect another guest was actually White Dear Ming, also exclaimed, "Small White?" Then the two opened their arms and had a hug. After releasing, Han Jichu greeted the camera, "Hello everyone, I'm the newcomer Han Jichu." The pineapple sister on the side also quickly said, "You two know each other, ah?" The two nodded coincidentally and said in unison, "I know you." Sister Pineapple smiled and said, "Since you know each other, it's a good thing, and there's no need to waste time on introductions." Then she looked at her wristwatch. "The time is now 9 o'clock in the morning. I announce that the 36th edition of the Being a Penny Challenge has officially begun, and I wish the two of you a pleasant time for the next 36 hours. After saying that, he took the staff and cleanly withdrew, leaving only Han Jichu, Bai Luming, and a cameraman brother at the scene. The two of them glanced at each other and looked at each other in dismay. "Han brother, you are not." Bai Luming opened his mouth to ask, but fortunately reacted quickly, in time to break the car. "If it is really out of mouth words, Han pick up the beginning of No Place to Cry." Pat his shoulders, "Ah, Small White, do not care about these details, brother would like to ask you what are the next plan." At this time, Bai Luming's attention was completely attracted by the ring on his hand. As for his words, it was directly filtered out. Chapter 26, Mixing with Big Brother, Painting shocking the four seats. The two strutted on the bund, naturally attracting countless tourists, but the two do not care. Suddenly, Han Jichu saw a young girl in front of her with a small stall, and there were quite a lot of people gathered around. Han Jichu pulled Bai Luming into a look. It turned out that the little girl is to help people sketch portrait, $20 apiece. The scene waiting in line is really quite a lot of people. Walked behind the little girl and looked, found that she draws not bad, and the price is cheap. No wonder business is so good. Probably should be art college students, take advantage of the time out of school to work part-time, on the one hand, can sharpen their painting skills, on the one hand, can also earn a little pocket money. Han pick up the beginning of a sudden plan, just as the little girl finished a painting, quickly walked to the side of her, and softly asked, "Beauty, can I discuss something with you?" The college girl raised her head and a handsome face appeared in front of her eyes. Because Han pick up the beginning of the face to come a little close, her little heart cannot help but poof 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 wildly jumped up. The face also cannot help but floated to reveal a touch of redness. Some shyly whispered, "There is something you say it?" You see, this is the benefit of high face value. But if Han Jichu is a little bit ugly, it is very likely that female college students will not give a damn about him at all. Han Jichu slightly smiled, "Beautiful, you see now so many people, you cannot be busy, I can help you paint? How about we split the proceeds?" Other things aside, this deal is absolutely beneficial to college girls, she has no reason to refuse. What's more, this is also a handsome man with a super high face value, she has no reason to refuse. The most crucial thing was that she and the people around her had seen Bai Luming and the camera labeled with the program's logo. For the sake of her good image, she couldn't even refuse. After nodding her head in agreement, she took out her extra drawing paper and brushes and handed them to Han Jichu. It was just a pity that there was only one drawing board. But this little problem is not difficult for him. Han Jichu glanced at Bai Luming, who was playing handsome and posing for the cameras of the onlookers, and said with a smile, "Little Bai, come here." Bai Luming hurriedly walked to his side and said, "Brother, I have a request." "What request is not a request? Who is our brother with Hua, what you just say?" "Brother, can you not call me Xiao Bai? You just shouted Xiao Bai, come here, giving me a feeling a little like teasing a dog." "Ha ha. Forgive me for laughing unkindly, this guy is really a monkey sent to tease." "Do not say, also really he meow a little like, huh? I am now more concerned, his big brother will paint? It's hard to say, it's most likely just a pretense. He can't be unaware that the show doesn't allow face painting, right? It would be hilarious if he's trying to use Bai's popularity to sell paintings. Fine, then brother will call you Dear Ming from now on, okay?" Bai Luming instantly smiled with joy, "No problem, right brother, what did you just call me for?" Han Jichu smiled and said, "I'm going to paint to earn money." Bai Luming looked at him questioningly, "Brother, can you do it?" Looming please remove the word question mark, brother must be able to do. Han Jichu patted his shoulder again, don't worry, follow big brother, let you eat good food and drink good food, these 2 days you just take it as a vacation. Only later you may have to suffer a little. In the face of Han pick up the beginning of the big cake, by looming quite eat this set. Happy to say, brother, what command you just say, as long as I can do, absolutely give you to do a clear. Immediately after the very hot-blooded shouted, robe brother family. Han pick up the beginning is also quite cooperative, never dilute swing belt. This is full of the air of the middle too, almost did not put the surrounding people to laugh off the gas. Okay, dear Ming, you first sit on the ground, yes, directly sit on the ground, then you slightly lower your head and bow your back as well, yes, very good. Looking at the humanoid drawing board in front of him, Han Jichu was satisfied. Then rushed to the crowd of onlookers yelled, drawing sketch portrait, $20 apiece, not satisfied with the money. I don't know whether it's because of the program, the effect of celebrities, or his arrogant words, there were a group of people who raised their hands and said they wanted to draw. Han pick up the beginning of a smile, said, do not be anxious, one by one to come, then from this sister to start. An aunt in her 40s and 50s, even called her sister, shameless is shameless, but it works. The old auntie smiled happily and stood in front of Han Jichu, little handsome, feel free to draw, even if the drawing is not good, my sister will also give money. Although Han Jichu had a chilling feeling, he smiled politely at him. Then, his brush flew on by Lu Ming's back, and he drew. Chapter 27, Eating, Drinking, and Speaking Out of Turn. Han Jichu was like a relentless painting machine, and each painting was basically completed perfectly in 20 minutes or so. As of 12 o'clock sharp, Han Jichu had finished exactly the 8th painting. The 8 people who got Han Jichu's sketches were all particularly satisfied, and they were just as in love with the first old auntie. Because of the previous old aunt's sample, all the people behind also gave 100 yuan in cash. From 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, 3 hours time earned $800, Han pick up the beginning or more satisfied. But it's Bai Luming who suffers. Like a dead dog, Bai Luming begged bitterly, brother, let's stop here today, okay? If I keep bowing, I'm afraid my waist will be ruined. Okay, get up and move around. White dear Ming hard to stand up, hands crossed waist turn up, activity has been stiff waist, face shows painful look. Ha ha. Xiao Bai is afraid that he is not his big brother's toolman? Bitter little white, alone to bear from his big brother's oppression. Partake little white, but I want to say his big brother, dry beautiful. Han pick up the beginning of the crowd still in the onlookers said, thank you handsome girls and boys, brother and sister of the scene and love, and now has been at noon, I and dear Ming also have to go to eat, you also hurry to eat it, do not starve. Thank you again for your love. After saying that, he pulled by Lu Ming and bowed to everyone. Afterwards, Han pick up the beginning to the front of the female college students, took out 400 yuan to hand her, said, beautiful, today thank you The female college student only took one bill from his hand, smiled sweetly and said, no need to thank you, and don't push anymore, $100 is enough. Moreover, today I also stole many divisions in your place, I have to say, he big brother, you are really bull, I feel that you are more powerful than our college teacher professor. Han pick up the beginning of both puzzled and confused asked, his big brother? What does it mean? Not waiting for the female college student to open her mouth, someone in the crowd of onlookers laughed and explained, it's what the netizens call you. Good guy, his big brother? What kind of messy name Han pick up the beginning of a smile, said goodbye to the female college students, and with white dear Ming wandering up. 3 hours netted $700, this meow is the correct way to open the penniless So, walking in the Jianghu, still need to have a skill. It seems that Xiao Bai with the big brother is still quite reliable well, proper food and drink well. On the importance of craftsmen? Han pick up the beginning of the direct earned $700 handed to the white dear Ming. Bai Lu Ming asked, brother, what do you mean by this? I'll give it to you for safekeeping, so you can buy whatever you want without worrying about it. Bai Lu Ming instantly moved, although the money is not much, but to distinguish what is the situation Received the money Bai Lu Ming instantly smile, just now the labor and suffering and what is it? Brother, hungry? Let's go eat? Okay, let's go. Brother, let's just find a cheap store to eat? Be frugal, as long as we can fill our stomachs. Han Jichu's eyes darted around, and thinking of the system's stipulation of having to play wonderfully and perform perfectly, he suddenly had a bold idea. Shaking his head, he put his arm around Bai Luming's shoulder and said, "How can that work? Brother said to take you to eat fragrant drink spicy, then must be done." Bai Luming looked at the hand of $700, some worried said, "Brother we have this money enough?" Han pick up the beginning of the oath of faith, said in the chest, "Anna, everything has brother guaranteed to give you a clear arrangement." This guy on his words, always inexplicably trust, immediately nodded, line, then listened to brother's arrangements. "Sorry, I take back my previous words, I suddenly feel that his big brother, a little unreliable This is to mess up I like. Really a dare to say, a dare to believe, these two partners, really fucking absolute." After walking for a while, Bai Luming still did not hold back and asked, "Brother, where are we going to eat Han Jichu said without thinking, "Shang Food Hall." "What the hell? What the heck?" Bai Luming subconsciously exclaimed loudly, almost out of context. Perhaps he himself also realized that the sound was too loud, and then whispered, "Brother you cannot joke, we have these 3 melons and 2 jujubes, enough to order a dish?" In fact, it is no wonder that Bai Luming will be so shocked, it is really the name of the Shang dining hall is too big. Shangshi Food Hall, in the Magic City and even the whole of China is extremely prestigious. Shangshi Food Hall, with the sole purpose of operating Chinese food, inherits and carries forward the Chinese food culture tradition, specializes in cooking all kinds of delicacies of the sea, is known for its light and strong flavor, mellow and unctuous, focusing on the clear, fragrant, fresh, tender, crispy, etc. Chapter 28, The Family of the Robes and Gowns. The capital city of the imperial city roots next to an ancient color, full of simple and elegant charm of the courtyard. After the weekend break, you mother and little cubs through the videophone, cannot wait to open the Dragon Live platform, enter the body without a penny live room. As soon as he entered the live broadcast room, he happened to see the scene of Han Shichu's painting, and hurriedly rushed to the courtyard to water the flowers and feed the birds of Grandma Yu and Grandpa Yu and shouted, "Dad, Mom, come in quickly to see your granddaughter-in-law." Crane hair pale but hale and hearty glowing old couple, handily dropped the hand of a should-be things, answered the voice and go. Grandma Yu said with a bit of urgency, "Where is it? Where is my granddaughter-in-law?" Yuma smiled slightly and said, "Mom, don't be in a hurry, wait, it will be ready soon." Immediately, Yuma put her cell phone on the TV. The old couple sat on the sofa and watched it with great interest. Grandpa Yu, who had a very elegant demeanor and was also very kind and easygoing, drank the tea made by his daughter-in-law while smiling kindly. "This little guy who paints, is little Cicada's husband? What did you say his name was? Han Shichu, right?" Although the old man is very easygoing and kind, but his body will always unintentionally exude the majesty that belongs only to the superior. It was also true that although the old man had retired for many years, the majesty of a long time in a high position had not yet faded. Yuma nodded and said with a smile, "Yes, he is the husband of First Cicada." "Dad, what do you think?" Before the old master could say anything, the dignified and elegant grandmother said, "He's a handsome young man, I just don't know how his character and morals are." The old man gently sipped a mouthful of tea and said with a bland smile, "Let's not rush to judgment, let's take a look first." Looking at the screen, Han picked up the beginning of the finished painting. The old man opened his mouth and asked, "Wife, you did not learn painting before? How about evaluating this kid's painting? Why do I feel that his level of painting is a bit high?" Grandma Yu nodded and said, "I don't know about the rest, but as far as sketching is concerned, this young man's drawing skills are indeed profound, and his skills are also considered to be at the peak, and in the field of sketching, he is definitely considered to be a master." Hearing her say this, the old man and Yuma were both a bit surprised. "I can see that the young man has some level, but is he really as good as you say? Master? How old is he?" Grandma Yu shook her head and explained, "This is how it is in the field of art, don't judge a hero by his age, talent is more important." Obviously, little Han is a very talented and gifted artist. Well, the name of the Han pick up the beginning of the name is also silently changing. Yoo-hoo, the young man is bold enough. Two people $700 dare to break into the fashionable food shop, courage is commendable. But Grandma Yu said thoughtfully, "I see that Xiao Han is not a reckless person," and then look at him with a look of confidence, "I think he may really have a way." "Daughter-in-law, what do you think?" A faint smile appeared on Yu's mother's face and she said, "Needless to say, I, the mother-in-law, unconditionally believe in my son-in-law." "Yo, it seems that you're very satisfied with little Han as your son-in-law, right? That's a must. If you don't believe me, let's continue to watch." Lisa Young, the agent, didn't go back to the office or home, but sat in the nanny car, far behind Han Jichu. Holding her cell phone, she was intently watching the live broadcast. The corners of her mouth lifted up in a smile, seemingly quite satisfied with Han Jichu's performance on the program. The heart secretly thought, hey, did not see this kid not only can draw, sense of variety is also very good, regardless of whether it can be successful, the effect of the program directly pull full, create a topic to enhance the popularity of the powder. I didn't expect to be a good material, good, very good. Standing in front of the door of the Shang food hall, Bai Luming pulled a hold on Han Jichu, who wanted to go in directly, and said with great concern, brother, really want to go Han Jichu said in a bad mood, this is at the door, how can I not go in and try it out? If you're afraid of losing face, just wait outside. If you are afraid of losing face, you can wait for me outside. How about I come out and call you after I've made the arrangements? Bai Luming actually want to agree in his heart, but when he thought of the righteousness of his buddies, he felt that he was too unrighteous. Gnashing his teeth, said with a hard head, no, lose face on lose face, and it's not like he hasn't done anything to lose face, and he doesn't care about this one more time. The Robe family. Han picked up the beginning of the pat on his shoulder, never pulling thin swing belt. Let's go. After saying that, the two of them walked into the Shang cuisine restaurant with great strides. Good guy, really dare to go in To get into trouble, must get into trouble. His big brother is definitely a tough guy, I admire him. I bet, in less than 5 minutes, the two guys will come out in disgrace. Pop-ups for proof, if it is a small white and his big brother, can eat a meal in the Shang food square and back in one piece, I live upside down deluded. Chapter 29 Reckless kicked the museum, set up. Bets. Did not wait long, before the welcoming lady led wearing a big red cheongsam, body posture, sexy and charming woman, came in style. Before she approached, the woman's seemingly careless gaze had already scanned and sized up the three of them. The woman's face revealed a charming and moving smile, stretching out a pair of soft and boneless tender hands, took the initiative to greet, Mr. Bai hello, I am the manager of the Shang Food Hall, Milan. Bai Luming did not dare to be arrogant, quickly stood up, reached out and shook hands with her, said with a smile, Sister Lan hello, I heard that there are 3 great things about the Shang Food Factory, one great thing is the food, the second great thing is Sister Lan, and the third great thing is the peach blossom brewing that Sister Lan brews with her own hands. Today, I saw it, and it really lives up to its name. Mei Lan smiled faintly and said modestly, Mr. Bai has praised me too much, it's not wrong to say that the dishes of our Shang Cafe are one of the best, but as for me and peach blossom brew, it's just the love of people from all walks of life, it's not something to be ashamed of. Han picked up the beginning of the eyebrow slightly raised, this woman, gave him the first feeling is, very moist. But more than that, it was uncomplicated, quite uncomplicated. No wonder she was able to serve as the manager of Shang Food Place. This kind of woman, don't mess with her easily, it's dangerous. Milan then looked at Han pick up the beginning, the same initiative to reach out and said, forgive me for my eyesight, dare to ask Mister your name? Reach out and gently hold her fingertips, a touch that is divided, smiled and said, free your name Han pick up the beginning, nice to meet. After a few words of pleasantries, Milan slowly asked, you are filming the Penniless program? Speaking of which, I'm also a big fan of the program. Bai Luming sneaked a glance and saw that Han Jichu just smiled but didn't mean to pick up the conversation, so he could only feign a faint smile. Worthy of being a powerhouse actor, even if he felt embarrassed, he could still act as if nothing had happened on the surface. However, how could his small movements escape the eyes of the human spirit Milan? Naturally, they were all caught in her eyes. Mei Lan gave a meaningful look at Han Zichu, seeing that the other party didn't answer, she could only open her mouth again. Mr. Han, Mr. Bai, you two must know that there are no rules, and the rules of our Shangshi Food Hall have been passed down for nearly 100 years, so it's not like I'm just a manager who can act arbitrarily. You two see this way? Some other day I will book a table in advance and host a banquet for you two, okay? Han pick up the beginning of this time more feel that this woman is not simple, talking about things, seemingly gentle words, but soft and hard, will not let people feel annoyed. A slight smile, shook his head and said, may manager's good intentions, our brother and sister heart. However, today we came to Shang Food Place, not only to eat, but something else. Mei Lan was secretly puzzled in her heart, but on her face, she did not move, and asked with an unabated smile, I don't know what else Mr. Han has to do? Do you need my help? Han picked up the beginning of the clouds lightly spit out 2 words, kicking the museum. Once these 2 words were uttered, there was no one on the spot who wasn't shocked. Even Milan, who was very deep in the city, was surprised and dumbfounded. The live broadcast room was also instantly blown up. Crap, his big brother, this is the old oil hot pot ate too much my? Speak so impetuous? His big brother, this is the collodion drink too much, speak so on the head? Although his big brother caused me to spray a screen of noodles, but I must say, his big brother urine, his big brother bull. I see this guy is wanting to red one crazy, ran to the Shang food shop to kick the house? Oh, claptrap, make a fool of yourself. Before also think that his big brother has some ability, now look, like a real clown, in order to fire is really unscrupulous Let's just sit back and enjoy the clown's poor performance. Reckless The live broadcast pop-up screen was disgusted by Han Zichu's crazy words, and all spared no effort to despise and ridicule, even hurling insults. Even Mother Yu, Grandmother Yu, and the old man watching the live broadcast frowned. In the Shangshi food hall, Mei Lan, who was shocked, hurriedly rounded off the scene, "Mr. Han, you'd better stop joking." Although the words were polite, Han Jichu still saw the disdain and contempt hidden deep in her eyes. He smiled faintly without thinking, "Sorry, I'm not joking." Mylan didn't take the words instantly, but instead carefully sized him up. She finally confirmed that Han Zichu really wasn't joking with her, he was very serious. Seeing that she didn't say anything for a long time, Han Chichu continued, "What, don't dare to take it? Mr. Han, or don't be unreasonable, if you come to a person who threatens to kick the restaurant, Wishang food restaurant is not to be busy to death? How to do business?" Mylan tone has been hidden with anger, even talk is no longer as polite as before. Understandable, after all, Han pick up the beginning of this is. Completely run to the doorstep of other people to show off, even if the temper is good, cannot help but will be angry at. Chapter 30 Lifetime Ban on Cooking, 1 Mang to the End. Hearing this, Mylan smiled slightly contemptuously and said slowly, "It's not necessary, the people who come to eat at our Shangshi food hall are the ones who don't spend a lot of money, and a little bit of money for meals is insignificant for them. Therefore, I won't bother Mr. Han to break the bank." Obviously, Mylan wasn't interested in the bet he proposed, but what she said wasn't unreasonable. Han Jichu had been wearing a faint smile on his face from the beginning to the end, and if he didn't know his own strength, he couldn't help but suspect that he was highly suspected of pretending. Of course, in other people's eyes, the current him is indeed a pretender. Then, according to Manager May's meaning, how to say it? Mei Lan also converged on the smile on her face, said very seriously, "If Mr. Han is not as skilled as others, I do not require Mr. Han to apologize on his knees for his previous blasphemous words. However, to the plaque of our Shangshi food hall, 3 bows, and sincerely apologize, should not be too much, right?" In the face of her aggressiveness, Han Jichu had no reason to be angry, after all, he was the one who first provoked others at their doorsteps. Han Jichu nodded and said calmly, "It's not too much, it should be." "In that case, Mr. Han, please." Manager May wait. Mei Lan said faintly, "What, Mr. Han is not stage fright? If that is the case, Mr. Han just need to apologize to our Shang food restaurant, then this betting will stop." "How?" Manager May misunderstood, "I just want to ask if I can videotape it." Mei Lan pondered for a moment, and then slowly said, "According to reason, filming is not allowed, but for the sake of the fairness of this cooking competition, then an exception will be made. But in advance, there are some key steps that are never allowed to be filmed. If there is no problem, Mr. Han, please." Then the group, led by Mylan, walked straight towards the back kitchen of Shang Food Hall. Crap, Mengfu really dared to go, huh? Looking at Mengfu's look of confidence and calmness, why do I feel that Mengfu really has 2 brushes? No matter what, I support Mengfu. Go Mengfu will win. Don't talk nonsense, in fact, I have long seen through Mengfu, but know that he will lose, but pretending to be calm. Indeed, we have to know that the chefs of Shangshifang are all top chefs who have participated in state banquets, and there are even heirs of the imperial chef, so how can Mengfu fight with others? Even if Mengfu from birth to learn cooking, see him now at most only early 20s, full count 20 years, how can fight over the master chef immersed in culinary arts for decades? Unconsciously, the netizens' name for Han Pikshu had already changed to Mengfu. Just as Mylan led the crowd into the back kitchen, the chefs in the back kitchen, who were busy in a frenzy, cast curious gazes. Executive Chef Yang Taifeng, who was around 50 years old, was the first to come forward. In a stern tone, he questioned, "Manager May, what do you mean by this? Don't you know the rule that no one should enter the important area of the back kitchen?" Mylan cannot dare to talk to the bad-tempered and hard Yang Taifeng top bar, and quickly smiled and explained, "Yang Chef, first do not be angry, things are like this. After listening to her explanation, understand the ins and outs of the matter, young Typhon, very disdainful, glanced at Han. Pick up the beginning, contemptuously said, "Is it you, this kid, to kick the museum?" Craftsman, the more skillful craftsman, the more arrogant temper, it is normal. Han pick up the beginning of a slight smile, not talented, it is the kid. Dare I ask what family is your master? What kind of cuisine do you specialize in? How many times have you participated in national banquets? Young Typhon came up with 3 major soul torture. Self-taught, specializing in a variety of dishes, never participated in the state banquet. Not to mention young Typhon, even the chefs on the sidelines could not help but laugh. Young Typhon glared at them, and instantly the chefs shut up and quieted down. It could be seen that young Typhon was still extremely intimidating in the back kitchen. Kid, don't blame me, Yang, for looking down on you. What qualifications do you have to come to our Shang food hall and kick the bucket? Han pick up the beginning of the slow and unassuming said, I do not know if Chef Young has ever heard of the saying that the master's in the people. Since the kid dares to come to kick the museum, it must also be some ability. As for the ability of the high and low, that will have to be compared to the only after the no. Not much to say, young chef dare to fight? Young Typhon only now seriously measure up to him. Ha ha. A long time, young Typhon cannot help but laugh out loud. Now the young people are like you do not know the sky high and thick? After mocking, a serious asked, really want to compare? Han pick up the beginning of the firm nodded, must compare. To compare, a young someone is not impossible to play with you. Before he finished his words, Han Jichu interrupted. Young General Kitchen directly say the conditions. Chapter 31 Knife Skill Competition, 1C Tofu. The number of real-time online viewers in the live broadcast room had also broken through the historical record, up to more than 80 million. Moreover, it was still continuously increasing, and it wouldn't be long before it was estimated that it would break through 100 million. This could make the program team and the senior management of the Dragon Live platform very happy. However, it is also fortunate that the Dragon Live platform is well prepared, coupled with a rapid response, temporarily increased more than 10 spare servers, opened dozens of spare lines. Otherwise, not to mention the penniless live broadcasting room, even the entire platform would have to collapse. The courtyard, not arrogant and not impatient, you old man, face always overflowing with a faint smile, slowly asked, this kid will cook, right? Mother you smiled and said, yes, last time when I was on a video call with Stinky Girl, I just happened to see pick up the beginning cooking in the kitchen. Moreover, I also clearly saw the Stinky Girl gulping straight from a long distance, smelling the aroma. Elder you nodded and said with a smile, now I feel more and more that this kid has complete certainty. Old man, why do you say this? Have you guys noticed this kid's eyes? The waves are not shocked and even full of confidence, and take the initiative to come to the door arrogant kicking, but also had to choose others' best knife work and cuisine, put forward the wager request counted did not consider directly agreed. Can do so, either arrogant to boundless, or have full certainty. You think this kid is the kind of arrogance of the unseen? Or, do you really think that this kid, in order to be famous, in order to read in no limit of hype? Not only that, from many sides can also be argued, our family's little cicada child what mountain and seafood, delicious food has not tasted? To be able to make her smell the aroma of the meal and can't help but swallow her mouth, the flavor of that dish can be imagined. Also, since he is already married to little cicada, he must know more or less about our family's situation, so would he still do anything for fame and money? The most important thing is, from beginning to end, this kid, in addition to the excitement of the Shang Food Workshop competition, speak a little nonchalant outside, other places are shown courteous, gentle and elegant, very rules and politeness. Therefore, I bet on him to win this cookery betting competition. You ma and you granny nodded in agreement with the old man's head-on analysis. In the Yipinhua Mansion Villa, Yu Chukan and little Tang Yuan also sat motionless on the sofa, staring intently at the projection screen on the TV. Although Yu Chukan believed in his cooking skills, she still couldn't help but clench her fists and tensed up for him. Little Tang Yuan, do you think Daddy will win? Little Tang Yuan stared with big round eyes and said with great certainty, POA will definitely win, POA is the best. Then she got up and stood on the sofa, dancing and cheering for Han Shichu, let's go POA, let's go POA, let's go POA, let's go POA. Gua Sugar Bean, let's cheer for my POA together. Forced Business Sugar Bean also attached to her called out, woof, woof. The back kitchen of Shang Food Place. Young Typhon looked at Hanjichu with a proud face and asked, knife work, how do we compare? Hanjichu didn't even think about it and said, how about comparing the knife work to Wencher tofu? Good. Wonshur tofu belongs to the Huayang cuisine, is the 8 dishes in the highest requirements of knife work. The minimum requirement is to cut 15,000 strands of tofu in a box. The difficulty lies in the fact that no more than 10% of the strands should be cut off, the length should not be less than 5 centimeters, and the thickness should be about 0.3 millimeters. It's a great test of knife skills. Prepare 2 boxes of inner fat tofu, Yang Taifeng said lightly. You first or I first, or together? You are the senior, you first please. Yang Taifeng also no nonsense, take out the inner fat tofu resting on the pier. See him first remove the skin of the tofu, then the tofu into 2, the hide is also divided into 2, that is to say, he divided a box of internal fat tofu into 4 pieces. Since the inner fat tofu was more delicate than normal tofu, you can't press your hands on the tofu when slicing, but only put your hands on the sides of the tofu. Not only must the slices be cut evenly, but the hand must also be moved back slowly. This step, but also rely on their own experience and feeling, do not rush. It did not take long for young Taifeng to cut a piece, and then he used water to rinse off the crumbs on top of the sliced tofu. After rinsing, he saw the texture of the tofu cut, a thread, very clean and uniform. Then he was seen carefully using the knife next to him to scratch the bottom of the sliced tofu twice. Bai Luming was both curious and puzzled as he asked in a low voice, "Brother, what is Chef Yang doing?" Han Jichu patiently explained to him and the millions of netizens, "Can't you see? Now cut into slices of tofu was standing up. If it is cut directly like this, the tofu shredded out is flat." Chapter 32, Convinced, Huayang Famous Cuisine. Mylan, who had her hands around her chest, looked at Han Zichu with contempt, and a faint sneer appeared on her enchanting face, and said with a slight arrogance, "Why, does Mr. Han want to admit defeat now? Don't you think it's too late?" Not only her, everyone present, including the millions of viewers watching the live broadcast, at this time all feel that Mr. Han is trying to admit defeat. Mr. Han shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, I didn't make myself clear. I mean, there's no need to waste any more time, it's enough to decide the winner now." After saying that, also ignored the anger and ridicule of the crowd, walked to the wash basin, carefully cleaned his hands. "Chef Yang, can I borrow your kitchen knife?" Yang Taifeng extended his hand, signaling him to go ahead. Hanjichu took out the inner fat tofu and removed the skin from all 5 sides. He didn't split it in half, much less cut it in 2 horizontally, and started slicing straight away. Incredibly, his other hand was not even on the chopping block, let alone touching the tofu or the chopper, showing how confident he was in his knife skills. Yang Taifeng stared at his operation with wide eyes in disbelief. Cutting Wonshur tofu with one hand, this was simply unthinkable. Moreover, Han Jichu didn't pause at all, his speed was very fast. After cutting the slices, there was no need to rinse it with water because there was no crumbly residue at all. The inner fat tofu also looks exactly the same as before it was cut, for square and clean on the pier. Even if you look closely, you can't see any traces of knife cutting. Only this hand, so that the kitchen crow's silent, a shocked dumbfounded. "Inema, what in the end I saw? See a lonely?" This, just now clearly saw the mangaka's cleaver cut through the tofu, why is it still a complete piece now? Crap, is this the real strength of Mongfu? Too fucking scary. Han Picchu held the kitchen knife in his hand and lightly slapped the surface of the knife on the pier. Only to see that the inner fat tofu, which had just been intact and flawless, suddenly tilted down slowly to one side. Compared to Yang Taifeng's deliberate use of the knife to adjust the tilting angle of the tofu slices, this hand of Han Jichu was indeed too amazing and shocking. Immediately, Han Zichu still held the knife in his right hand, his left hand behind his back, and without the slightest pause, he quickly danced the kitchen knife. A moment later, the knife stopped. Han Shirchu gently copied with the kitchen knife, tofu strands jumped on top of the kitchen knife, and then put into a water container that had already been prepared. A long and thin as hair in the water of the tofu slowly fluttering open, carefully distinguish, there is not a broken, and the size of each strand of tofu is almost exactly the same. Amazing, really amazing. Yang Taifeng stared at Han Zichu with shock written all over his face. After a long time, Yang Taifeng took a deep breath and said with a bitter smile, "Mr. Han, I lost." There's nothing to argue about, the loss was convincing. From the beginning he divided the tofu into 4, he has already lost. Because, the higher and longer the inner fat tofu, the more difficult to jump knife, the more difficult to control. Whether it's the difficulty factor, speed, precision, or the uniformity and fineness of the shredded tofu, Yang Taifeng can be said to be a complete failure. My fucking jaw dropped to the ground in shock, mangaka bull, broken voice. I must sincerely apologize for the previous mockery, sorry brother Mengfu. Kung Fu cuisine, so this is the profound Kung Fu cuisine of our China, breathtaking, ah. I don't want to say anything else, just for brother Mengfu's skillful knife work, I will be your fan for the rest of my life. Brother Mengfu, I'm sorry. The pop-ups in the live broadcast room were full of words of amazement and apologies. In the back kitchen of the Xingche Food Center, everyone present was impressed by Han Shichu's skillful knife work. The contemptuous and disdainful eyes from before had vanished, turning into admiration and respect. Bai Luming couldn't help but give him 2 thumbs up, marveling, brother, you're a heifer with a big top, a bull in the sky. Han pick up the beginning of a faint smile, said the base manipulation, do not six, all sit. And young Taifeng even walked to him, respectfully bowed, slowly said, sorry Mr. Han, before it was young too proud and conceited, rude place please bear with me. It's a man's man. Han pick up the beginning of the rush to smile and said, Yang chef serious, to say the least is that I was rude in the first place, words to provoke your store than the competition, so Yang chef do not have to be so. Young Taifeng shook his head and sighed, having lived dozens of years in empty space, I can't believe that I don't even know that there are people outside of people, and there is a sky outside of the sky, shame on me. Mr. Han, you and I will call it quits on this gambling competition, let's take it as an exchange of culinary arts to discuss how. Mr. Han smiled and said, that's good. Next, Yang Ma will do a national banquet dishes, but also Huayan cuisine is very famous in the special dishes, Yangzhou lion head, but also please Mr. Han. Evaluation. Chapter 33, 4 Seasons, 4 Flavors, Generous Acceptance. Bai Luming glanced at Han Jichu with some aggression, it was obvious that this guy was going to start messing around and pretending again. Yang Taifeng frowned and said, Mr. Han, although your knife work beats me, but if it comes to Huayan cuisine, I'm confident that I won't lose you. Han did not answer, but said with a smile, on the lion's head alone, Chef Yang knows the 4 seasons and 4 flavors? At these words, Yang Taifeng's face changed dramatically, staring straight at him. For Yang Taifeng's unusual reaction, naturally by the crowd, the camera also captured his shock mixed with excitement. What did the mangaka mean by this? What 4 seasons and 4 flavors? Any know-it-all king explain? As a native Yangzhouer, this is the first time I've heard of the 4 seasons and 4 flavors of lion's head. Eagle, come out and translate. What do you mean by 4 seasons? What the fuck do you mean by 4 seasons? Don't bother us with everything. We're busy. Don't bother. Don't know is don't know, nothing to be ashamed of, put here pretend what Kafit? Young Taifeng face eager, cannot wait to ask, Mr. Han, how do you know the 4 seasons of the lion's head 4 flavors? Han pick up the beginning of a smile, pretending to be deep did not talk. At this time, Bai Luming for the crowd asked the most concerned question, brother what is called 4 seasons 4 flavors Han Zichu reached out his hand to indicate young Taifeng. Young Taifeng understood and slowly said, actually, I don't know too much about it, because my master died of a heart attack, so the inheritance of Huayan cuisine is not complete. Not only our Huayan cuisine, all the 8 major cuisines have more or less broken some inheritance. Over the years, through the efforts of our generations, we have perfected and supplemented many dishes, but there are some famous dishes that have been lost, and no matter how much we study and ponder them, we can't get the hang of them. Speaking of which, it is really heartbreaking, these lost dishes can be our Chinese classic traditional food so in vain to give up the inheritance, it is really heartbreaking. After lamenting, young Taifeng slowly explained, I have heard the master mention the 4 seasons of the 4 flavors of the lion's head said, each season lion's head dishes presented are different, cannot be generalized. As for which 4 seasons are the 4 flavors, I don't know, because my master passed away before he had the chance to teach it. I have constantly tried over the years, but I simply can't figure it out. Young Taifeng let out a heavy sigh and shook his head feebly. Immediately, only to see him with a face of sincere prayer to Han pick up the beginning of said, I also hope that Mr. Han do not begrudge the teaching, generous to accept. After saying this, he made a gesture to kneel and bow. Fortunately, Han Zichu was quick and pulled him back. Chef Yang do not need to be so, our Chinese traditional cuisine of the essence of many broken heritage, I am also pained. But the reason why it is so, in addition to some unavoidable external objective factors, the most important reason is because we are too much self-possessed. Especially the old generation of teaching disciples starving masters and other views, always will intentionally leave a hand. In this way, over time, nature will slowly break the inheritance. For the concept of the old generation, I do not comment. But now, if we still cherish the words, not to mention cooking, is our Chinese national essence, will also slowly broken heritage. Therefore, we need to be brave to exchange, dare to innovate, so as to revitalize the traditional culture. So Chef Yang do not have to be polite, where Mr. Han no, will certainly not leave private teach. Han pick up the beginning of some words, said the crowd is admiring, cannot help but applauded warmly. Only, Milan some blush, some shame. Well said, the words of the reckless man, simply thought-provoking ah. The fact is true, how much of our traditional Chinese culture is because of the broom and buried in the river of history. We must learn from this and pay attention to it. What is not to say, just for the reckless words, this broad-mindedness, I powder him for life. Capital Courtyard, you old man after listening to Han pick up the beginning of some heartfelt words, satisfied nodded, face showing appreciation of the look, lamented, finally underestimated this kid, good, very good. You mom also cannot hide the smile on her face, proudly show off, Dad, I said my son-in-law is excellent, now believe it? The old man was not willing to show weakness back, what are you so proud of? He is still my granddaughter-in-law. However, what Han said, you have to pay attention to our Chinese traditional culture cannot be lost. Yuma smiled and said, Dad, don't worry, our department has already made some moves in this area. The first thing I want to do is to get a good deal of money to pay for it. Han pick up the beginning continued, Lion's Head so-called 4 seasons 4 flavors, that is, spring mussels braised, summer lotus leaves steamed, autumn crab meat stewed, winter phoenix chicken stewed. Chapter 34 Soft Pocket. Long Fish, Tasting Review. Han pick up the beginning slowly said, Lion Head itself is not a problem, but your soup base has a problem, a very serious problem. You should know, Huayang cuisine multiple soup, if the soup has a problem, then the whole dish will be ruined. Yang Taifeng asked, soup base problem? Should not be able to soup is all my hands boiled, how can there be a problem? Han pick up the beginning of a slight smile, that I ask you, this soup is a pig leg bone, old hen, ham and other materials, after more than 8 hours of fire hanging out? Yang Taifeng nodded, that's right. The ingredients are right, the way of boiling is also right, but you are missing a key ingredient. Han pick up the beginning of a pause for a moment, and then said, the source of the freshness of the lion's head is the soup, pork shank bone for the soup base, the old hen for the freshness, there is also a key flavor of the aroma, that is, the old goose. All three are the soul of the soup, and the flavor type is different, so it will be fresh with layers, so you can't have one without the other. Yang Taifeng thoughtfully nodded, then respectfully said, taught. Mr. Han's culinary skills far exceeded in the next, Yang lost the heart of the sincere conviction. Although the victory has been decided, but Yang still want to see Mr. Han's superb skills, by the way, also want to steal a lesson, I hope that Mr. Han do not begrudge advice. The chefs on the side also followed the coaxing, shouting in unison, Mr. Han, show your hand. Mr. Han, show your hand. Bai Luming also could not help but agree, brother, you show us a hand. Mr. Han nodded and said, in that case, I will also make a Huayang dish for you, the name of the dish is Soft Pocket Long Fish, I hope that you and the netizens and viewers in front of the screen, watch and learn seriously. What? Soft Pocket Long Fish? As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Taifeng exclaimed in excitement. Soft Pocket Long Fish? What the hell? Why is Chief Chef Yang so excited? Forgive my ignorance, but why have I never heard of this dish? It is said that the soft fish is one of the most prestigious traditional dishes in Huayang cuisine, but unfortunately, it seems to have been lost. I see, no wonder I've never heard of it. Han Zichu slightly smiled, yes, it is the lost Huayang famous dish, soft pocket long fish. After that, Han went to the special water tank for long fish, while selecting the long fish, while patiently explaining, cooking soft pocket long fish this dish, the best choice before and after the Dragon Boat Festival, the penny thick small long fish. As Han picked up the fish while explaining, everyone listened extraordinarily attentively. Through the system-infused information, Han Jichu no soft pocket long fish this dish, in the mysterious ancient oriental country, was named Jiangsu 10 classic dishes, or the first hot dishes in the first banquet, so there is also the reputation of the first dish of the founding of the country. In this way, the shiny, soft, tender and fragrant, fresh and refreshing, unique soft pockets of long fish will be accomplished. Everyone, have a taste? With the exception of Han Shichu, everyone present couldn't wait to taste it, with Bai Luming being especially eager. Even Milan couldn't help but join in the food grabbing. Crap, is this a dish? This is clearly a work of art. I am very angry, I clearly came to see the star artist suffering, but now this is to get what? The clowns are us? I'm not going to lie, I'm already salivating from the way they're eating. The noodles in my hand don't smell so good anymore. Brother Manganese, you're really good. I don't want to talk anymore, I'll order the long fish right away and prepare to make one with my own hands. I feel like I've learned it completely. I feel like I've got it all figured out. Don't be ridiculous, you've got it all figured out with your eyes, but you've got it all figured out with your hands. After the crowd had tried it, they were even more impressed with Han Shichu, but when they reached their chopsticks to the plate again, they found it was already empty, and secretly blamed their own hands for being too slow. Young Typhoon once again bowed to Han Zichu to thank Mr. Han for passing on the food. I can't thank him enough. Then, like before, all the chefs bowed and thanked Mr. Han for passing on the food. I can't thank him enough. Not waiting for Han to pick up the beginning of the speech, young Typhoon said with a pleading face, Mr. Han, Mr. Yang has an unkind request. I hope that Mr. Han will be able to agree. Oh? Han pick up the beginning of a great curiosity. Yang chef, what is the matter? Just straight talk is, do not need to be polite. I would like to ask Mr. Han to try and review our dishes, and we all hope to get Mr. Han's valuable opinions. In this way, we can improve on any shortcomings. The rest of the chefs also agreed, strongly requesting Mr. Han to try and comment. Don't you think this is a coincidence? Sleepy needs pillow. Han pick up early will refuse? Obviously not able to. Nodding his head, he said, if you all don't mind, then Han will take the plunge and try it. Chapter 35, Seconds to Eat, Encountering a Drunkard. Mengfu Brother Bola, since the start of this program, Mengfu Brother and Xiaobai is the most comfortable star artist, right? Determined, this is the most correct way to open. Mengfu Brother is really bull, said with Xiaobai eat fragrant drink spicy, will never pull thin swing belt. Look, this treatment, this specification, other to participate in the program star artist is afraid to think about all dare not think. Brother Mengfu and Xiaobai this issue, absolutely is the ceiling of this program. It turns out that Brother Mengfu is the protagonist of this issue and Xiaobai, just responsible for shouting 666 salted fish only. The conclusion is that a star who can't draw is not a good cook. Hey, I really envy Xiaobai has such an awesome big brother, why I don't have this kind of good big brother to take me to eat and drink. I also want to do a just need to shout 666 salted fish Everyone before the bullishly set flags, please do not run off the subject and change the topic. The live upside down diarrhea, chopping the carving, said 5-speed electric fan, please take action, go go go. After the comment, Han Jichu and Bai Luming only at ease with the meal. Han pick up the beginning of a look at still carrying a camera in the camera master, and quickly said, big brother, you also follow the shooting a day, hurry to fix the camera there, quickly come to eat it. Bai Luming also persuaded, come on big brother, let's try to wipe out this table full of dishes. After the knife competition, cooking competition and tasting reviews, a lot of tossing and turning, it is now nearly 5 o'clock, who is not hungry Not to mention the cameraman who has been carrying the camera around, tired and hungry is inevitable. After repeated persuasion, the camera master fixed the machine, sat outside the camera. Bai Luming smiled, looked at Han Jichu with admiration, rubbed his hands together, brother, drink some? I'd like to drink some. Bai Luming pointed to 3 bottles of foreign wine, red wine, national wine, and continued to ask, brother, what to drink? I'm not used to foreign wine and red wine. I'm not used to foreign wine and red wine. White Deer Ming cannot wait to unpacking, while pouring wine on the camera master said, brother, you later still camera, I will not give you pour. Said good inhumane, suffering body without a penny, how suddenly evolved into a mouth-watering eat broadcast it. It's time to say no, Mangle and White are still polite and virtuous. Indeed, watching Penniless for so long, there is any period of guests, regardless of sinning or not, who has cared about the camera master They do not have to eat, live a sinful life on the contrary, but there are still many periods, the guest of honor big fish and meat, but who cares about That's it? That's it? That's what you're showing me? A food competition? A food show? Stop it. My mouth is watering right now. No, no, no. I'm ordering takeout. Ha, eating dinner, watching Mengfu and Xiaobai's eating show, man, all down 2 bowls of dry rice. The previous star guests, living even worse than the dog. These 2 guys are definitely the most nourished and comfortable that being a cent has ever seen. After finishing the meal, it was already more than 6 o'clock, and under the respectful escort of young Typhoon and Milan, the drunken and slightly inebriated 2 people left the Shang food hall and wandered on the street. Bai Luming was carrying undrinkable foreign wine and red wine in his hand, so cozy. Brother, let's find a place to sleep? The two of them had drunk a bottle of national wine, so they weren't drunk, but they were still slightly disoriented. Han picked up the beginning of the nod, said, first turn around, sober up by the way to eliminate food, as a walk after dinner. The two of them walked leisurely while chatting about the Dragon Gate. Unconsciously, nightfall, early lights. Already sober two people are planning to find a hotel to sleep, but suddenly unexpected. Only to see a drunken man in a suit, holding a bottle of white wine, wobbling toward the two. Han Jichu was just about to give way, but he didn't expect the drunkard to charge straight at him. The staggering drunkard stumbled and fell to the ground. Han Jichu and Bai Luming hurriedly crouched down and helped him up. Sir, are you all right? Han Jichu asked with concern. The drunken man who was helped up apologized repeatedly, sorry. Smelling the heavy smell of alcohol all over his body, Han Jichu slightly frowned. This is how much to drink, ah? Don't you know how to serve 2 plates of peanuts? Seeing him shaking his body and wanting to go, Han Jichu and Bai Luming exchanged a glance, not daring to let him continue to run around on the road. If something really happened, it would be bad. Han Jichu continued to support him, persuading, Sir, why don't you find a place to sit and rest for a while to sober up? You're in danger. No. It's fine. The drunkard said back with a big tongue. Even the words cannot speak. This is in the Bund by the Huangpu River. How can the two people feel at ease to let him leave? Chapter 36 Exit Without Regrets. Accompanied by a sad love song that floated not far away, the drunken man was silent for a few moments and then narrated. Today she got married, but the groom is not me, and she was lost by my own hands. She and I are college classmates. From freshman year, we fell in love. Every day together in class, together to eat together, to study together. The family is rich. She also does not mind to accompany me to work and study together. And we did not like other campus romance, graduation that is broken up, each go their own way. We stayed in the capital that strange does not believe in tears of the big city to fight. We live in the basement to keep each other warm. The poorest time, we nibbled on cold steamed buns, eating the same bowl of ramen. At that time young and unintelligent, with her promise to earn money later to buy her villa, luxury cars, big diamond ring. And she, not only believed that I envision the future, but also do not abandon without complaint with me to struggle, even despite the opposition of the family, determined to follow me to suffer. However, at that time, the reality of the embarrassment of the poor, but told me that I have nothing but love for her. When I saw her glance at the clothes and shoes in the window, full of love but stubbornly said, I don't like it, and forced me to leave, my heart felt like it had been stabbed hard. When we share a bowl of ramen, eat 2 bites, she said, full, you help me eat, I hate to give myself 2 slaps. When she accompanied me to wait for the bus in the rain, but laughed and comforted me with the love of the rain, really romantic when I have low self-esteem. I am depressed, in addition to the embarrassment and poverty brought about by the inferiority complex, simply do not have the slightest cherish the courage of this relationship. Speaking of this, the drunkard had long since burst into tears. Han picked up the beginning of a heavy sigh, softly asked, so you chose to let go? The drunkard nodded painfully. Confused Bai Luming looked at him with hatred, such a good girl, hard to find, how can you give up so easily? Can't you just grit your teeth and hold on, give yourself a little more confidence and courage? It's because she's so good that she makes me feel even more inferior. How can I be worthy of her when I'm so poor and can't feed myself? How dare I hold her back? It also made me fall into deep self-doubt, wondering if I could give her a happy life. Yes, I am a coward, I do not have the courage to cherish this relationship. But I really can't bear to see her suffer with me again, and I don't dare to bet on a girl's best years with a nebulous future. Love is selfless and selfish, but at that time I did not have the self-confidence and courage to possess her again, to love her again. At that time, I stubbornly believed that my love for her is the bondage, is the torture, is the hardship. I also foolishly thought that only break up, she can live more happy. After enduring the pain of breaking up, I did not even pack my bags, left overnight without saying goodbye, alone to the magic city to fight. Drunkard face with a bitter far-fetched smile, now, I succeeded, can fully realize the promise of her at the beginning. But when I wanted to turn back to find her, I realized that I had already lost her. Han picked up the beginning of a heavy sigh again, patted his shoulder, slowly said, this is the reality, put down the brick, cannot afford to hold life, put down her, cannot afford to hold love. Yes, like this good girl, cannot live up to, but even more reluctant to follow her to suffer and starve. For his approach, I do not agree. As a girl, I feel that breaking up is the biggest harm to the girl. Why can't you give yourself more courage? I have also been at the most incompetent and powerless age, but met a good girl who wanted to give her a lifetime of happiness. The reality of life, however, made me make the same choice as him, and for me, it was a lifetime of regret. Then I had everything but us. For those who have had the same experience, the drunkard may have made what he thought was the best choice at the time. There is no right or wrong, only regret. If I could have never, perhaps I should have been more courageous, right? Han Jiechu suddenly remembered the big gift bag given by the system before, and there was a poem in it that was quite fitting. Then he couldn't help but blurt out the poem, 50 strings on a brocade, 1 string, 1 pillar, thinking of Chinese New Year's. This love can be turned into a memory, but at that time, it was already lost. He didn't read the whole poem, but only intercepted the 2 lines before and after. As soon as his poem was out, the live broadcast room exploded once again. Crap, is this an ancient poem? Why have I never heard of it before? My Nima, Mongfu turned out to be a cultured person, exiting the mouth? What a lofty feeling. Is this original poetry? Is there any king who understands the sculpture to come out and explain a wave? Unknown, although I do not know what it means, but I want to say, Mongfu Brother Bull. Chapter 37 Young and Talented, Exclusive Hot Search. A song called Young and Powerful, for everyone. The melodious guitar melody slowly drifted up. The magnetic but unusually plain singing voice of Han Jichu suddenly rang out, as if telling a story. The TV keeps flashing, and the contact information has not been deleted. You treated me well, but I destroyed it by mistake. We had thought of a place to sleep and eat together. But how can we make it through the days and nights? We can't even get the money for the first installment. I smashed the wall panels and still haven't repaired them. You saved half of the hot kanji to take away in case I didn't have enough. Although his voice is very plain, it is full of emotion, like a cry. It instantly captures the heart of the listener, who can't help but fall into the song. If I were young and not inferior, and knew what is precious. If I hadn't given you those beautiful dreams, I would have been ashamed of my life. If I had been young and smart, I wouldn't have let you suffer for me. At the wedding, I'd have drank more, with the man you're with now. Listening to his song, the drunkard once again overflowing with tears, this song is a complete reflection of his truth, if not inferiority complex at that time, now what will be? No matter what, at least there will be no regrets. Of course, listening to the song into the heart of the far more than him, the scene has a lot of men's eyes are covered with a layer of water mist. Perhaps, in their hearts are deeply hidden a beam of regret white moonlight. The pop-up screen in the live broadcast room is not calm. The young man is no longer young, looking back, if I am young to understand you, if I am young to know you, if I am young to cherish you, if I am young not inferior. But I am no longer young, can only wish you well. I am young but not for, do not know precious but inferiority complex. While complaining about their own powerlessness, and at the same time cannot give the girl who will not leave the good temper. I want to be gentle with you now. Young and talented, probably the best wish of everyone when they are young, right? In the ascendant, the age of youth, a bowl of hot porridge is better than 1,000 cups of wine. Someone is willing to accompany you to the turbulence, in times of trouble, then please treat you gently, more to give yourself the courage to cherish this relationship, at the same time, to work hard. Forgive me for not being able to say how gorgeous words, I just feel that the reckless brother of this song young and talented written really fucking good, sung really fucking good, I'm a big old man actually listen to the wet eyes. Shabby lyrics, simple and unadorned voice, but can penetrate the heart, hook people memories, attract people resonance, brother Mongfu this song is written really awesome. I don't know anything about music, I just know that songs that can move my emotions, or joy, or sadness, or silence, or quietness, must be good music. In such a fickle society nowadays, how many good girls are there like the one in the song? How many of them wait for a boy to grow up without complaint? If you meet her, please don't let her down. Love songs are the most touching and hurtful, Mongfu brother with simple and straightforward lyrics, the love in the most heartbreaking love song details, with a sincere and plain voice slowly spit out, so people cannot help but think of the past, a lot of feelings. After a song, the scene was quiet, occasionally 3 or 5 or 2 sobbing voice, perhaps the song and the people it? After a few moments, the crowd only rang applause, followed by more and more intense. Bai Lu Ming also applauded vigorously, hands clapped to red, but also do not realize. Han Jichu slowly said, I wish all of you to be young and talented, cherish all, live up to expectations, and have no regrets. Don't let the inferiority complex take advantage of the moment, and don't let the what if take advantage of the future. May you, in your limited time, hold on to the happiness that belongs to you. After saying that, Han Jichu bowed deeply to the crowd and the camera, and then pulled Bai Luming to leave. What Han does not know is that not only the number of real-time viewers in the live broadcast room reached a horrifying 120 million, but also about Han's several topics with unstoppable speed, rushed to the top 10 microblogging hot searches. Hashtag Master Sketches, $100 a piece hashtag. Hashtag Mongfu kicked off the Shanghainese Food Center hashtag. Hashtag Mongfu's skillful knife work. Hashtag the legacy of traditional Chinese culture, the lost classic dishes hashtag. Hashtag Mongfu and Xiaobai's textbook teaching of the correct way to open being a penny. Hashtag Mongfu's ancient poem Jins. Hashtag Mongfu's song, The Young and the Restless. Weibo exploded, the entertainment circle went crazy. Entertainment companies, media reporters, professional agents, and many celebrity artists were all poking around for information on Mongfu's profile. One person dominated the top 10 microblogging hot searches. The sudden emergence of Mongfu made the entire entertainment circle into a pot of chaos. If this was the case alone, it would not be enough to make the entertainment circle go crazy. The most crucial thing was that there were two Weibo hot searches that went big. One was hashtag the heritage of Chinese traditional culture, lost classic famous dishes hashtag. This microblogging hot search was not an ordinary big deal, and it was also the main reason that caused the entertainment circle to shake. Chapter 38, Treasure Boy, just in time. Han pick up the beginning of flirting. Yo, I did not expect that my district a vegetarian, but can obtain the worship of white big actor, flattered ah. Bai Luming gave him a blank look and said in a bad mood, brother, you don't want to be Versailles, don't pretend to be presumptuous, and don't choke me. Brother, can you tell me what else you don't know? Painting, even if you are good at painting, cooking is even better, that's fine, you even know how to write poems, and it's still ancient poems, and you just accidentally exposed the fact that you know how to write and compose songs. Good guy, I realize that you are a treasure, the longer I am in contact with you, the more surprises I will find. Han Jichu laughed, but didn't refute his words. After all, with the system at his side, he was indeed an endless treasure to discover. But there is one thing that Bai Luming said wrong, he is not accidentally exposed, but deliberately in order to pretend. This kind of door to the pretend opportunity, if you cannot grasp the words, will be struck by lightning, will be punished by the system. Bai Luming took out his money, said, brother, we still have $697, find a cheaper hotel, open a standard room, only $200 or $300, the rest of the money is enough for us to last until the end of the program tomorrow. Han picked up the beginning but frowned. The heart cannot help but secretly guess, if tonight to live in a generalized hotel, I'm afraid it will not reach the perfect standard set by the system. This does not mean that the mission failed, have to face paralysis for a few years? Shaking his head, no, just to be on the safe side, still have to find a way to stay in a good hotel. Gotta mess with things. Looking at him frowning and shaking his head, Bai Luming inner apprehension tentatively asked, brother, you tell my brother the truth, are you preparing to mess up again? No, how could that be? Han pick up the beginning of the denial without hesitation, brother you still do not believe brother? I'm not the kind of person who likes to get into trouble, right? But forgive me for laughing unkindly, Mongfu brother said this, I almost believed it. I almost believe it. I can see that the eyes of brother Mongfu are turning straight up, so I know that he is bound to be ready to make trouble. Xiaobai, be confident and change your question into an affirmative sentence. Ha, I like brother Mongfu, what's the point of not messing up? What's the point of not messing up? Good monk's gas, hard to get even, brother Mongfu such a good man, how come he got married so early? Brother Mangfu, divorce? I'll steal a battery car to support you. Han picked up the beginning of the walk while burying his head thinking about the approach, but never found a suitable entry point and set. While he was in trouble, Bai Luming suddenly pulled his hand and said curiously, brother, what are all those people doing in front of us? Let's go over and take a look. Well, curiosity and love of watching is the common nature of the people of China. There have been experiments, so that 4 people in a circle squatting on the ground, and then look at the empty ground whispering. The results did not take long, the onlookers are more and more, and finally even 3 layers of a large group of densely packed people. Although they know that there is nothing on the ground, they are curious and love to watch. Han pick up the beginning looked up, was about to refuse, but inadvertently saw the crowd gathered place is actually a 5-star hotel. After thinking about it, he decided to go and take a look, just in case he had a chance to take advantage of it. Wouldn't that be great? Let's go and take a look. As soon as I approached, I didn't even need to ask, but I saw the banners hanging outside the hotel's main door and the posters displayed everywhere. Han Jichu fixed his eyes on it. It turns out to be the hotel is publicizing the newly launched activities. Good guy, this is simply a sleepy pillow. It's too much of a coincidence, isn't it? It turns out that the activity being publicized on the newspaper is, in fact, a free stay in the presidential suite for a pair of couplets. Han picked up the beginning of a little bit cannot believe their own eyes. He was now deeply skeptical that the system hadn't already anticipated something. Otherwise, the rewards given before couldn't be so coincidental, right? He secretly sighed. He didn't want to pretend to be a bully, but the sand sculpture system was forcing him to pretend to be a bully. Isn't that ridiculous? Carefully read through the content and rules of the activity on the exhibition newspaper. The hotel has a total of 10 levels. If all the couplets, then you can enjoy the presidential suite provided by the hotel for free, and all the items in the room can be enjoyed for free. Dear Ming, let's go, let's try it too. This time, Bai Luming didn't say anything. After all, even if he can't pass the level, there's nothing to be ashamed of, not to mention that he is now beginning to get used to it. If Han Zichu didn't say to go and try it out, he would have felt a little strange. Still, he asked curiously, brother, have you ever studied couplets? Han Zichu pondered for a moment and said slowly, I knew a little about it. Chapter 39, I had an idea, the challenge begins. Under the arrangement of the lobby manager and the hotel security guards, Han Jichu and Bai Luming first signed autographs and took pictures for the fans. Nima, no, I'm in Magic City, I have to immediately kill the past to be Mengfu brother in Xiaobai's photo autographs. Well, these two guys are really enough grounded, a little frame is not, which is like the other stars artists, hold some fame, as proud as a white swan. That's right, said On the Angry, what the hell is it, without our fans holding, and what is it? What can be proud of? Chasing the stars is purely a personal hobby, we do not comment, but must chase the stars, please be sure to chase the virtue, character, 3 views of the stars. Ha, look at this situation, Mengfu brother afraid to do something again No way, will not be let this guy to pretend to it? Shouldn't be able to, didn't your brother Mengfu say he only knows a little bit? When Han Jichu and Bai Luming signing wrist pain, finally finished signing. Han picked up the beginning of the wrist while moving, while the lobby manager said, Wang manager, I wonder if I can participate in the activities? Can't wait to be so Wang manager and how will be silly poke and poke refused it. Smiling happily, he said, of course there is no problem, Mr. Han can personally participate in the activities of our hotel, naturally it is excellent. Mr. Han nodded, politely said, then Manager Wang, let's start? Okay, let's watch Mr. Han's performance. Then the lobby manager took out his walkie-talkie and came out. Then we saw a column of cheongsam-clad welcoming ceremonial ladies, holding trays in their hands, from the back of the lobby, twisting and swaying in chanting posture, coming in style. A total of 10 beautifully built ceremonial ladies, each carrying a tray, corresponding to the 10 levels and 10 upper lines. Han Pickup Early secretly nodded, the whole is quite like that. Manager Wang, I don't know which side to start from. From left to right is fine, Mr. Han please. The first welcome etiquette lady on the left revealed a professional smile and picked up the top couplet written in black ink on red paper in the tray. Slowly opened, read aloud in standard Mandarin, the couplet, touring the Westlake, lifting the tin pot fell out of the Westlake, pity the tin lake. After the reading, the lady of honor straightened her hands and showed it to everyone. Once the couplet came out, the crowd was talking to each other. My God, is the first line so difficult? Good Lord, with such difficulty, who can match 10 lines? Okay, I admit that I'm uneducated, and the first couplet is far beyond my level of strength. Of course, there were many people frowning in contemplation, but then they all shook their heads in unison and sighed. Difficult, indeed difficult. Han Picchu didn't answer immediately, but asked with great curiosity, Manager Wang, at the risk of asking, who came up with this couplet of yours? Manager Wang revealed a bright smile and boasted, these couplets were made by professors of Chinese language, folk experts, and the Couplet Society, as well as the absolute ones handed down to us. In order to verify the neatness of the couplets, our hotel also specially invited to the president of the Chinese Couplet Society, Mr. Wei Traditional Old As soon as he finished his words, he saw a hale and hearty old gentleman in a tang suit walk out from the back of the lobby once again. The gentle and elegant old gentleman, full of bookish air, walked to the front of Han Zichu and said with a gentle smile, "Young man, are you the one who was breaking through the challenge? How is it? Won't be difficult by the first road, right?" Han picked up the beginning of a light smile, said, "Way old you good, is I want to try. However, the first couplet is not difficult for me." Oh? Obviously, Mr. Wei did not expect this young man in front of him to come up with the next couplet in such a short period of time. Seeing his confident expression, he said curiously, "I don't know how your next couplet?" Han picked up the beginning slowly said, "The next line, over Nanping, by blue bottle out of Nanping, difficult to assess the blue bottle." Good. He just finished a pair, Wei traditional president cannot help but clap his hands. The battle is quite neat. I did not think that the young man you are young and actually quite deep study of couplets and such a short period of time on the next line, enough to prove that your kid talent Han pick up the beginning of modesty said, "Where, I just know a little bit about couplets, way old fallacious praise." Well, I believe you a ghost, you reckless bad very. There's not much to say. After watching this program, I feel more and more that I am a waste. I'd like to ask, is it really so easy for cultured people to pretend to be a pussy? Mengfu brother really bull, have to admire, in the end what else is he will not be? What else does he not know?